Imagine this, you live in a world after the apocalypse, and your whole life people treat you like trash. You lose your entire family, then finally learn that your awakened talent is the greatest humanity has ever had, the one that might save the world. But after years of training and fighting until you become the strongest person alive, you still find out the monsters invading the world are on a whole different level, far beyond even you. More than 100 years ago, creatures suddenly mutated and started slaughtering humans. Even the dead changed into mutants and attacked the living. Before long, the whole world turned into hell. The destruction spread everywhere. During the war, some people awakened special powers and fought the mutants back again and again, but by 2145, mutants across the world suddenly formed one giant army and surrounded humanity's last line of defense. Countless awakened fighters were wiped out, and in the middle of the capital, a giant many-eyed monster appeared on the final battlefield. A level 3 divine machine archer says the mutants just keep coming. Beside him are a level 3 psionic support fighter and a level 3 heavy hammer warrior. He warns that nearly all the level 1 and 2 awakened fighters are already dead, and if this keeps up, even the level 3s won't last. Then the archer tells the others to stay sharp because he still has a backup plan. At the same time, the monster keeps rising and lashes out with its tentacles, grabbing all three and pulling them toward its mouth. The hammer warrior tells the others to shove him forward, but the psionic fighter realizes the monster's drool is made of psychic energy. If that's true, they can't fight back. The three of them think it's over, as those jaws close in and they brace to be swallowed. But then someone strikes the creature in an instant, killing it with a single blow. They're stunned, wondering what just happened, and drop to the ground as the monster's body tears apart. When they look up, they see the person who saved them standing there like a hero. It's the strongest divine talent, the swordsman who came to rescue them. His name is Mr. Nightingale. He apologizes for being late, and the others thank him, relieved he made it in time to save them. But the Maker looks ahead as the archer warns that another mutant is right above the protagonist's head, and they realize it's a kind of creature they've never seen before. It's a flying mutant with a single eye in its stomach, tentacles, claws, and a nearly human shape. They can't believe something like that would dare stand over Mr. The Hammer Warrior gets furious and says he'll send it flying. He leaps up to attack with the archer, but as soon as they get close to the eye on its belly, the monster turns toward them and releases a psychic wave. That blast erases both of them completely, as if reality itself was sliced apart. The psionic fighter can't believe it. She tries to fight back with her own power, gathering flames around herself. But the monster vanishes from where it was and appears behind her before she can react, striking so fast she has no chance to defend herself. She barely understands what's happening and just freezes, then closes her eyes before the final hit, but nothing happens. Yenning appears in front of her, blocks the tentacles, and saves her life while taking on the one-eyed creature. He can tell this isn't a normal level 3 mutant, especially after it killed 2 top level 3 awakeners in one strike, so he tells the psionic fighter to retreat while he handles it. She knows she'd only slow him down in a fight like this, so she agrees and pulls back, leaving the Megas behind to face the monster alone. But his weapon isn't enough to stop it, and the Mega's sword gets cut in half. That's when he realizes the truth. It blocked only one attack and his blade is already ruined. He remembers something the military talked about for years, something that was supposed to exist only in theory. This is a level 4 mutant. The creature charges at the Megas again, and Yenning knows he'll need all his strength to fight it. He rushes in with the broken sword, then forms an energy blade over the missing half, restoring it long enough to strike. When their powers collide, a huge beam shoots into the sky. The mech feels something is wrong when he sees the monster right in front of him. In the next second it pierces through his chest, and when it pulls back it leaves a hole in his body. Yenning drops his sword and falls backward. He finally understands this really is a level 4 mutant, and humans are still too fragile against that kind of power. The monster climbs on top of him as the mech realizes he's dying. He couldn't protect the world after all. As the tentacles move in to devour him, the mech remembers everything that led to this moment. At the command center, everyone is shocked. Yenning, humanity's only real hope in the Chinese war zones, has been defeated. They wonder how much longer they can hold out while the monsters keep advancing under that level 4 leader. One man thinks that if they had only found Yenning earlier and given him more time to grow, maybe they could have stopped this nightmare. But now they see no way out. They're all going to die together. So the commanders declare that the defense lines in that war zone are lost, and authorize the use of the strongest nuclear warheads. If this is the end, then they'll meet it with dignity. Humanity will endure no matter what. The nuclear weapons are launched at the monsters, and every human prepares to sacrifice their life to destroy those creatures. Then the entire planet is blown apart. But then someone wakes up to a news broadcast. It says it's November 6th, year 001 of the new calendar, and construction is about to begin on Safe Zone 337. When the boy opens his eyes, he hears another breaking report. Safe Region 67 in the eastern area was attacked by sea beasts, and all survivors are ordered to evacuate at once. He wakes with a pounding headache, wondering if he wasn't already defeated and killed. When he hears two people talking nearby, they say he was supposed to fail the test, that people believed he passed out because of the virus, and that he was being handled from the outside. If he becomes a problem, they've been ordered to kill him because the money was already paid. The two men approach the mech with guns in hand. One says he's just an ordinary person, not a descendant of the awakened. So once a side character dies, he's nothing but a corpse. The other says, if he doesn't wake up soon, he might still live. And that's when the mech realizes this was 3 years ago. He's been reborn and sent back to the day of his talent test. In his past life he failed because someone tampered with it. One of the men cuts him off and tells the other to stop wasting time and kill him now. But the mech refuses to let them win again. He lunges at the man with the gun, snatches the weapon from his hand, and attacks one of the two. He drops that guy fast, then turns the gun on the other, who's terrified. A moment later, he shoots and kills both of them, surviving the assassination attempt. He remembers that in his past life, after failing the test, he spent 3 years collecting corpses before the military finally discovered his divine talent. By then China's war zone had already collapsed, so he had no time or resources left to grow. Even so, he reached level 3 in only 7 months, still far from his true peak, before he was forced to face a level 4 mutant. Then he thinks about his mother, Shai Wan, and the guilt hits him hard because he couldn't save them. But now it isn't too late. If he passes the test, becomes the strongest, and grows fast enough, he can save the people who matter most and end the apocalypse. With that he heads out, fully determined. When a message appears, the final judgment sword god system has linked to Yin. His mission is to touch the test crystal within 30 minutes to unlock the system. If he fails to touch it before 31 minutes pass, the system will disappear. Once activated, any sword skill he uses will be amplified 100 times and evolve into a forbidden sword art. He quickly realizes this system is completely different from the last awakening systems everyone knew before. Youting wonders if this is his lucky break, maybe being reborn changed things. But that can wait. For now, any system is good if it helps him grow stronger. First he needs to reach the test and find out who set him up. The countdown keeps ticking toward 31 minutes, then guards rush over, telling him to stop asking questions about the mech as they trigger a security alert. They call him an infected escapee and order him to freeze with his hands on his head. The Union quickly judges the situation. The captain is a low-level awakened, and the others are much weaker. For now the best move is to keep the captain close and force him to help, so he fires at the first man, disarming him at once, then charges straight at the captain, slipping around his body and stopping right behind him. That leaves the captain shaken. Youting warns everyone not to move or he'll shoot the captain on the spot. The soldiers yell for him to release their captain, reminding him that attacking the military inside the safe zone is a death sentence. Youting cuts them off and demands to be taken to the testing site. He gives them 3 seconds to decide. After that the captain dies. Everyone stares at him like he's lost his mind. They can't believe what he's trying to do, and the captain is stunned that a normal person is forcing his way into the test. Enro presses the pistol harder against the captain's head, that finally makes the man back down. Maybe this is all a misunderstanding and they should talk first. Enro just tells him to walk. The captain warns the boy that he better awaken successfully, because even if he does, escaping punishment won't be easy. The cadets are reminded that the end of the world began in 2042. Throwing humanity into an age of disaster. Only 1 in 10 million became part of the first generation of awakened, and they join the military to protect China. That's why this day matters so much. The test decides whether someone has talent. If they pass, they can become combat type awakened and protect others. If they fail, they leave and live an ordinary life. Liu Chang announces that they'll begin with the descendants of the awakened. Everyone starts moving toward the crystal. Then a soldier gets a radio report. An infected person has taken hostages and entered the testing site. The warning keeps repeating over the radio, putting everyone on edge. And sure enough, the mix really is heading straight for the crystal. Liu Chang orders him to drop his weapon and surrender. If he keeps resisting, they'll kill him right there. At once the soldiers surround Enro with guns and swords. Enro says he isn't infected. He also says he has no wish to stop the awakening ceremony. He came for one reason only, to take the test. One commander is done listening, and orders everyone to seize him immediately. The soldiers rush in. Enro drops his gun and quietly reminds the hostage captain that Article 137 of the Safe Zone rules gives special rights to the awakened, and disobeying military orders is a serious crime, but major contributions can wipe those crimes away. Before anyone can respond, the captain turns and smashes Ening in the face, acting like a mere civilian has no right to talk about regulations. The crowd erupts, calling him insane for bringing up legal articles at a moment like this. Their leader then orders Ening's execution, but before anyone can bring down a sword on him, a military aircraft arrives and floods the area with light. Everyone is stunned. Why is a supersonic psychic fighter here? As the one who arrived is the supreme commander of the military zone, Chang Feng, Great Marshal Xiao Hai, a second order awakened. He lands with overwhelming presence and the soldiers instantly feel crushed by his aura. The test hasn't even started yet, so why is the Great Marshal here? Xiao Hai says the military zone badly needs high-level awaken, and since this boy is willing to bet his life, they'll see what he's really made of. If he fails to awaken, execute him immediately. Hearing that, Ening tells them to prepare the test. They'll do it now. The crowd is pushed back. People are shocked that the test is actually being allowed. To them, the idea that a commoner could become awakened is ridiculous. They look down on him, thinking people from lower status always fool themselves into believing they have talent. Ening thinks back to his past life when he was manipulated and lost this test. This time he won't keep making mistake after mistake. In this life he'll start over from the very first step and take control of his own fate. The moment he touches the stone, everything turns purple. A huge wave of pressure bursts from Ening and spreads through the entire area. Both Xiao Hai and the man who ordered Ening killed are startled by it. Everyone can feel the power pouring out of the boy. Ening begins pouring spiritual energy into the crystal. The feeling is familiar, and he pushes forward. The machine starts reading his talent, first E rank, then C, then B, and it keeps climbing. The commander who wanted him dead is stunned. His rank is still rising. Does this kid really have top-level talent? Ening reaches a rank, spiritual energy floods through his organs, and the sensation is incredible. He realizes the crystal can take even more spiritual energy. Greedy for more, he keeps pouring it in, and the crystal shines even brighter. The crowd is stunned. How can a commoner have a rank talent? The odds are absurd, almost impossible. But Xiao Hai says the final result still hasn't appeared. Could his talent be even higher? The pillar blazes brighter while every aircraft in the area watches, and they all see the rank still rising. Ening is nearly staggering from the strain, but he keeps feeding it energy until everyone there is staring in shock, even the ones who haven't tested yet. He keeps going, and the crystal finally goes wild. Then it declares that his talent is S rank. The whole crowd is shaken. Xiao Hai senses something is off. The crystal still hasn't announced the end, which means the test isn't over. Yet, Ening has already shown S-rank talent, meaning third-order awakened potential. At a moment this critical, that alone is huge. Xiao Hai immediately orders all armed ground troops into defensive positions to guard against mutant attacks. Psychic jets are sent on military patrol. Civilian access to the plaza is shut down, and still Ening keeps pouring in more energy. They also seal off the upper airspace. But the boy still doesn't stop. He keeps channeling energy until finally the pressure starts to calm. The test is over. Now everyone wants to know the result. The machine finishes calculating and announces Ening's talent as SS level pure blood talent. Xiao Hai is so shocked he nearly drops his tablet. An SS pure blood is monstrous. ES rank can reach third order awakening, so someone at SS could absolutely become a fourth order warrior. He realizes Qian Feng is about to go through a major change, and he starts laughing, thrilled that the Qian Feng safe zone has produced a talent like this. Everyone else can barely believe what they heard. The Great Marshal is praising him like a dream come true. A moment ago people called Ening a sick man. Now they're telling each other to watch their mouths because he could become their superior someday. Ening knows his real talent should be even higher. SS, the highest level humanity can reach. He didn't expect the crystal to cap out at SS, but that doesn't matter. SS influence is enough for now. What matters most is the Sword God System mission. This really breaks the usual pattern. Normally someone looks weak, touches the crystal, and secretly turns out to be S rank. Ening didn't just hit SS, his true level is even beyond that. Then he opens the system panel. The Sword God system says its current effect boosts skill power by 10,000 times, and any sword skill he learns will be upgraded straight to SS level. That ability is completely broken. For now he confirms the mission is complete. Then he remembers that in his previous life, even with the whole country's effort, they only managed to gather 2 S-rank skills and 1 A-rank skill. But this Sword God system can upgrade sword skills to SS without limit. That makes him think. First he needs to find a sword skill to test it on. Just then the marshal walks over and congratulates him on his SS level talent. As a reward he tells the boy to ask for whatever he wants. Uncle Chow will make sure he's satisfied. But while they're talking, Ening doesn't answer, he's still focused on the system mission and Chow Rai notices the silence. He assumes the boy still isn't used to being awakened and starts laughing. He says Uncle Chow was the same way, completely stunned on the day it happened. Then he invites Ening to come along so they can talk properly in his office. Chow Rai tells Ening he was clearly treated unfairly and failed the test because of it. He has already taken control of the department involved and will investigate carefully to give him an explanation. On top of that, he names Ening the top candidate for the seed project. Once the higher-ups approve it, a third-order expert will be assigned to guide him and he'll get first access to resources and equipment. Now they can finally talk about his talent. He says he'll help plan Ening's future, but the mech knows he can't mention the sword god system. So he hides his real gift and says his power is mental control telekinesis. He figures a rare talent like that needs experts from the capital. Then Commander Yao asks what reward he wants and Ening says he'd like a swordsman skill book if possible. Yao says that's easy and tells his assistant to bring one, the highest grade they have. A little later, the assistant returns with the best skill book from their stock. Yao tells Ening to take it. Ening thanks him and asks to leave if there's nothing else. Yao assumes he wants to rush home and share the good news with his family. He orders a subordinate to assign elite soldiers to protect Ening all day every day. If anything happens they must report straight to him. He also demands a full report within 24 hours on how Ening almost failed his qualification test. No matter who's involved, he wants it stopped immediately. Everyone understands at once and the mech heads to the 6th refuge. He returns to his home in Changfan's safe zone. Several soldiers come with him. That alone scares everyone nearby. Ening tells the soldiers to wait outside since he can go in by himself. The people around him are shocked. They can't believe Ening is riding in a military vehicle and they start wondering if he's suddenly become someone important. Then they lower their voices. If this many awakened are guarding him, he can't be ordinary anymore. Then the mech sees Sloan coming home. She's his youngest sister. The moment he sees her, memories of her death hit him. In his heart, he apologizes for failing to protect her in his past life. This time, he swears he won't let her get hurt at all. Xiaoan doesn't get why he's hugging her so tightly. For him it's been years since she died, but to her it's just a normal day. She asks why he's back already and whether he wasn't supposed to be at the training grounds. He tells her he passed the test. Tears fall as he holds her. She asks what's wrong and he brushes it off, saying he's just happy to see her. She tells him to come inside because their mother has been worried ever since he left. He says everything's fine and that they'll surprise her together. Xiaoan happily shows him some extra parts she found. She says they can trade them for a pancake and eat well tonight. The Meshin calls her silly and says tonight they'll have a real feast. She asks if he's serious. Will there be meat? He says of course, as much as she wants, and he means it, laying out dish after dish for them. They're all stunned. Xiaoan thinks it's fancy and his mother asks how the awakening test went, since the neighbors have been asking about it. He tells her he passed and is now officially awakened. She is overjoyed to hear it. Xiaoan starts cheering, saying she knew her brother could do it. Proud of him, she says that if he's awakened now, does that mean they can eat like this every day? He tells her yes, they'll be able to. After dinner everyone goes to sleep and the mech watches them resting peacefully. Once he closes the door, he calls out to the system and says he's ready to keep learning the skill book. The system says the mission is complete. He gets for free attribute points. An AC rank sword skill has been detected and successfully upgraded. That skill becomes SS rank Sword of the Storm. The mech is stunned by how much it changed. A sword appears in his hand. As the system explains the skill, Sword of the Storm uses 4,500 psychic energy to summon a chain of sword ki that devastates a chosen area in a short time. It also has super speed, armor piercing, destruction, slicing and disintegration effects. Its power is boosted to 10,000 times its current level, so he knows he has to use it carefully. His shocked, AC rank skill jumps straight to SS rank, and even with all the experience from his past life, he's never seen anything this crazy. Then he notices the huge energy cost and starts thinking it through. Right now he only has 1,500 energy points. First order gives 2,000, second order gives 3,000 and third order gives 4,000. So without gear bonuses he'd need to be around mid-third order to use Sword of the Storm normally. Luckily his talent lets him use one skill for free every 48 hours. Without that he couldn't even cast it once. Right now, the tricky part is that the sword god system won't let him reveal anything about it. He can't explain where his strength or sword skills come from, so until he reaches second order he needs to avoid using Sword of the Storm in front of other people. With the seed project report still pending, he decides it's smarter to stay out of trouble. Still, this is a high-level sword skill he never had in his previous life. He really wants to test it right away and soon remembers the army has the perfect place for that, so he heads out. After the apocalypse, the world was flooded with spiritual energy and random dungeons started appearing everywhere. Awakened people began exploring them deeper and deeper, studying their inner zones and gathering data. Little by little, humanity learned more about dungeons, especially the military, which spent massive resources researching them. They even created test dungeons to train soldiers in real combat. Unlike natural dungeons, test dungeons let people withdraw the moment they were in deadly danger. Their safety measures were taken to the limit, so the meshing decides it's the perfect spot to try out his new skill in a test dungeon. He heads to the safe zone of Chenfang. When he reaches the test dungeon facility, he asks them to open a low-level solo dungeon for him, saying he only needs to test something. The staff member is surprised. He recognizes Yingning as the boy with SS rank mental talent and remembers the great commander gave orders to let him access the dungeons. Still, he asks if Yingning is really going in alone and whether someone shouldn't go with him. With his current strength, entering solo is dangerous, but the mag says he'll just test one thing and come right back, then disappears inside. He gets teleported into the dungeon. The setting is a city and the danger level is low. He figures it's meant to copy a dungeon from the early days after the apocalypse. The dungeon issues him a dagger as his weapon. He takes it out from the system space and says that's perfect. The weaker the weapon, the easier it'll be to judge the skill itself. Right then, a monster rushes in from the side and he senses it instantly. A creature with one giant eye. He jumps back just before it hits. He's almost amused that the thing came right to him, and he kills it for his first 3 points. The dagger feels good in his hand and he decides the hunt starts now. As the mage moves on, he reaches an emergency stairwell and opens the door. A monster bursts out from inside, leaping straight at him. It tries to swallow him whole, but he calmly steps in and drives the blade right through its throat. The creature dies on the spot and crashes at his feet. Even if his body isn't that strong yet, his past life battle experience makes these zombies easy to handle. To test his real skill though, he needs to reach the mutant boss area. He spots the stairs and plans his route. First he'll leave the building and the boss zone should be past the shopping street. Once outside he finds a pack of monsters waiting. He quickly notices these zombies have already evolved to mid-first order, which means the dungeon is ramping up. He decides not to waste time fighting them all. When the zombies finally notice him, they start shrieking and lunging forward. He says he'll find the boss, finish the test and get out, cutting down only the ones he has to. As he moves, some monsters chase after him, but he ignores them and keeps pushing ahead. Then he runs into another zombie horde in front of him. They surge at him too, and now their numbers are growing way too fast. As he runs, he clicks his tongue too bad. Killing normal zombies doesn't give him psychic experience. Even so, he scales a wall, knowing he has to reach the boss area fast. Once he gets there, he'll deal with the rest. He keeps jumping across obstacles, drawing the zombies after him, while staying just out of reach. After a long run he finally reaches the boss zone. Everything there screams danger. Standing in the middle of a small square, he scans the area and a corpse-devouring mutant at peak first order suddenly closes in. He turns at once just as the monster drops right behind him. It's huge and its speed catches him off guard. This boss really is a peak first order corpse devouring mutant. He jumps back to dodge the monster's strike. He knows a peak first order mutant normally takes at least 3 first order awakened to handle. If this weren't a test dungeon, even with his celestial powers, his current rank wouldn't stand a chance, and the devouring corpse isn't alone. Normal zombies are swarming around it too. Those zombies rush in to shield the monster and pile onto the mage. Even a first order elite squad would have a hard time getting out alive, so he braces himself. If this skill isn't as strong as he hoped, he'll have no choice but to run. Then he charges straight over the creature's body, leaps onto it and gets ready to use the skill, aiming at the monster's head. He admits that if this fails, he'll have to leave the dungeon in disgrace. The skill is ready. He unleashes Sword of the Storm, right into the middle of the horde. Everything is wiped out and he's stunned by the result. One hit erased every monster there. He never expected Sword of the Storm to be this deadly without testing it himself. At this level, it could even one-shot a weaker peak second-order mutant, and right now, he's still only Order 0. That means this skill can grow a lot more. The system then tells him he killed a peak first-order mutant and earned 6 psychic experience points, cut by 50% because the dungeon was man-made. The Mick explains that test dungeons only give rewards from spiritual energy stones supplied by the combat zone, so the drop rate is much lower than in normal dungeons. Usually you can only hope for white-grade gear if you're lucky. In his past life, he never heard of anyone getting equipment from a test dungeon, yet he just got one. His agility also goes up by 1 and the gear boosts hand speed and shooting stability by 15. He figures that's already a huge advantage. Most normal second order awakened wouldn't even have a full white set, so getting one piece this early is a great start. The test goal is done, he got extra loot and there's no reason to stay, so he leaves the dungeon and tells the guard outside he's fine. Then asks for his item back. After thanking him he heads off. The guard is shocked he came out so fast and assumes the zombie scared him off. Then someone suddenly asks who let a first order squad enter the dungeon. The guard turns around in panic as his senior asks if he forgot the rule about not letting random groups into a solo dungeon. He keeps scolding him, saying dungeon maintenance is hard enough already and asks how many times he has to repeat it. The guard quickly says no squad went in, he'd never allow that. His senior is confused and asks if he's sure. If no squad entered, then how did the solo dungeon's first order mutant die and how did equipment drop? It's not like a second order awakened would bother with a solo test dungeon. The guard says the only person who went in was Yenning. He claimed it was just a test. Then the man realizes was Yenning testing whether he could solo the boss, and that was exactly it. He really just wanted to test his skill. Now the Mick walks through a shady alley packed with black market deals. People are trading food for weapons and bullets and others are selling cheap meals, but he doesn't stop. He's in a hurry. Even if he can already beat peak first order mutants, he knows the overall situation is still bad. Right then a boy warns everyone to move fast because the police are coming. The police rush in, ordering people to keep walking and watch those kids. The mech doesn't even need to mention the disaster from a year ago because the Chenfen safe area will eventually be burned down and overrun by corpses as huge numbers of third-order mutants advance. In just 10 days the old district of Chenfen City will suffer a zombie outbreak and become a deadly threat to the whole safe area, and Shong and his mother are still in danger. He has to get stronger fast. Meanwhile at army headquarters in the capital safe area, one officer asks if everyone saw the urgent report about an SS-level talent discovered in Chenfen. The room is shocked. An SS talent is a rare and valuable seed. So they review the Mika's full file and say that after losing several third-order fighters this is great news. They need to speed up his training and send every resource he needs. One of them even suggests bringing him straight to the military capital to train under the commander. But another man asks if he's really proposing that as a way to break through the impossible gap between third and fourth order. The white-haired man says none of their top awaken, not the 4 commanders, not the other elites, not even those at the peak of third order have reached fourth order. Even their commander is stuck there because none of them were raised from the start with truly high-level resources. So building someone up from the beginning might actually work. The others agree and decide that SS-level talent or Yanan, chosen as seed number 1 for cultivation, should be brought to the military capital at once. But one person objects, which makes everyone suspicious. The man with the mustache asks what he means. They don't get why anyone would oppose training such a promising talent. He says the 4th military district is doing its usual thing again, arguing just to argue. Then he asks if they even read the last part of the urgent report. Yenning is a mental attribute awakened, and in 70 years of records not a single mentalist has ever reached third order. Mental type awakened usually have the weakest psychic constitution. They're mostly support fighters and going into battle alone puts them at a huge disadvantage. Everyone knows advancing from first to second order is already dangerous, and going from peak second order to third has a 0% success rate. After that nobody has anything to say, so they tell him to drop it and lower Yenning's priority. Resources are too valuable to waste. The next day the commander sees that Yenning has been removed from the Awaken project and pushed even lower on the list. Since mental abilities are believed to have no path to third order, his potential is reclassified as only high level or maybe even less. In their eyes he's not worth major investment. The boy asks Commander Xiao if they should still give Yenning the benefits that were promised. Xiao says the higher-ups already decided Yenning has no real future, so his original benefits should be cancelled and the people sent to protect him should be called back. The boy also asks about the investigation into the sabotage during Yenning's test. The suspect harmed himself and the clues are gone. Should they keep investigating? Commander Xiao says they only promised to investigate because they thought Yenning had value. Now that he doesn't, there's no point. Later they inform the Mick that according to the capital specialists his growth is limited by his rank path. Because of that the safe area has revoked his benefits. He also doesn't need to join the awakening program anymore, and the proper departments have already been notified. The Mick can't believe they think his potential stops at second order. His talent is actually SIS level, and even the tested SS rating should have been enough to prove his worth training. Then he understands why. The Changi safe area is surrounded by massive zombie forces, and right now mental type awakened are still seen as useless. Nobody knows that reaching fourth order requires mental growth once normal attributes hit their limit. Still, this new life keeps surprising him. since these people failed to see his value. He wonders if he should appeal to the capital and reveal that he's really SS level and that mental awakening is the key to reaching 4th order, but he drops the idea. Without proof, nobody would believe him. What he needs now is another way to quickly regain his former 3rd order strength. If he does that, the rest will fix itself. With the Sword God system and Sword of the Storm, he's starting this life in a much better place than before, so he decides it's time to hunt mutants. He heads into the wild forest, where 2 boys spot the mix with a rifle on his back. They ask if he wants to join their team. They promise him a share of the credit points from the hunt and say he'll be safe with them. But the Mick doesn't answer right away. He asks how that would even work. A 1st order mutant barely gives any experience as it is, so splitting it with a whole team makes no sense. He thanks them but turns the offer down. The 2 guys get annoyed and say he's full of himself. They claim they were trying to help, yet he acts like they deserve nothing in return. Then they warn him not to get cocky just because he's awakened. They insist they offered him a spot out of kindness and now he's the one making trouble with that attitude. But the Mick just tells them to leave. The look in his eyes stops them cold. His stare is ice cold, like a beast has locked onto them. They can tell this is someone who's faced death more than once. Realizing how strange he is, they finally back off and the Mick gets a moment of peace and heads into the forest. One of them still decides to follow him. Inside, the Mick remembers this corpse-filled forest is one of the most dangerous places outside Changfeng's safe zone. If he recalls right, there are 2 1st order mutants here and one of them rules the whole area. To go from 0 order to 1st order, he needs to kill 3 1st order mutants. He already killed 1 1st order peak mutant in the test dungeon. Even though the reward was cut in half, it still counted like a normal 1st order mutant. So if he kills the other 2 here, he'll level up. But then something starts rushing toward him from behind, and the Mick draws his weapon at once when he spots the zombie. He decides not to rely on Storm Sword for now. He needs more than psychic experience. His body has to get stronger too, so he kills the monster using only his weapon, driving it like a dagger. The zombie drops and more rush in. He mutters that mentalists are seen as the weakest when it comes to physical toughness, and that idea has to change. In his view, every 3rd order awakened should understand how important mentalist awakenings are. If not, it'll be too late once 4th order mutants appear. Remembering his past life, he knows he has to make people see the value of that class. Then everyone outside the forest hears a blast of thunder from deep inside. One of them asks if that was a gunshot, and wonders if it came from that boy. Their leader suddenly realizes a demon tree is nearby. They say it's close, and shout for everyone to run. No way are they dying here before even finding the physical fruit. Meanwhile, the Mick was nearly caught by a mass of roots. The one attacking him is the 1st order peak mutant, the demon tree, which has entered the fight. The Mick was shocked that both of them showed up at once. The monsters start boxing him in with no room to escape. He looks for a way out but then realizes the other one is missing. A huge attack suddenly comes straight at the Mick, and all he can sense is one monster in front of him. As it attacks, he realizes something is off. Roots are watching him from every side, and the monster is way too fast. He pulls back from the attacks and gains some distance. Still, he can't figure out where the second one went. Then something almost slams into him from the front, missing by a hair. He barely slips out of that monster's grasp, and wonders how something that huge can jump like that. The second mutant still hasn't shown itself, so he starts thinking it's waiting to strike from hiding. The monster keeps pressing him, and the Mac knows there's no time to dodge or even think. He decides he has no choice but to meet it head-on. He blocks the attack directly, but the monster reveals something embedded inside it. When he looks closer, that object, something like a shell, is staring back at him. The Mac gets hit and thrown aside. Now he knows he didn't see it wrong. In his past life, a full team that could easily handle mid-rank and second order mutants still got wrecked by these 2 first-order monsters together. They were badly wounded and lost 2 people. The hidden second monster was what made the fight so deadly. Back then, an elite military squad took down the demon tree and the entangler, but his memory had misled him. He always thought the second one was hiding somewhere nearby. The truth was right in front of him. The entangler was inside the demon tree. Now the 2 start attacking as one. The Mick studies the flow of the battle and notices the entangler's roar boost the demon tree's power, but the effect doesn't last long, and every time it refreshes the buff, the tree still pauses for a moment. Even so, it keeps using the same tactics as before. If he's right, that thing is about to leap at him again. After seeing the pattern, he realizes this move is the entangler's biggest weakness. He climbs one of the roots and rushes straight toward the monster's face. Then he spots that thing under its chin, but attacks anyway, striking right through the center of that core and shattering it. When he rips that thing out from the demon tree's chest, it tries to fight back, but the Mick knows that without being linked to the tree, the entangler is incredibly weak, so he blows it apart and the demon tree lets out a scream. Its body starts shrinking, getting smaller and smaller, while the Mick pours more power into his blade. He stabs everything in front of him, but still didn't expect the demon tree to stay this strong. Even without the entangler's buff, it still has the power of a first order peak mutant, so he holds his ground against it, even as it tries one last attack on the Mick, but the Mick keeps stabbing until all that's left is a small trunk. At that point the fight is already over. He delivers the finishing blow, driving his weapon through both eyes, making the demon scream. Then he blows the thing apart for good. He kills the mid-rank first-order entangler and gains psychic experience. He also defeats the first-order peak demon tree and gets more psychic experience. On top of that, he picks up several materials: white tree bark, white deadwood armor, white giant claw, a psychic fruit and a corpse fruit. He notes that one of them has side effects, but it's still a prized item in normal combat. Even so, the real treasure here is the psychic fruit. It permanently raises physical stats by 1 point and boosts life recovery speed by 20%. After using it, he remembers that for many awakened, gaining a whole level only gives 4 attribute points, so getting an extra point from just 2 boss kills is already a huge reward. Meanwhile, the others feel the boss's psychic pressure disappear. One wonders if that loud noise caused it, and another asks if a second order awakened passed through, but no one else is around except that crazy boy. The one sitting down says he already felt something off about him, then wonders if the mech could be behind this, but even to him that sounds insane. Half an hour later, back inside Chengfang's safe zone, the mech arrives at a mutant material shop. A worker asks if he wants to sell everything. The mech says yes and asks for an estimate. He knows selling through the system's trade channel is possible, but he can't afford to waste resources right now. His money has to go where it matters, so face-to-face deals suit him better. The girl at the counter says the 4 items came from a high-rank first-order mutant and are great for making attack and defense gear. Her estimate is 697 credit points, but since it's his first time there, she'll round it up to 700 as a welcome deal. The Mikan thinks about how much that is. In the apocalypse, 700 credit points can buy over 200 kilos of meat or hire a squad of 7 or 8 mercenaries. That's a serious amount. So he agrees. She tells him the points have been transferred and asks him to check his account. The man adds that they also sell gear, supplies, firearms, and even custom-made equipment, then asks if he wants anything else from the market. The mech asks if they have any skill books, specifically sword techniques. The man says they do, but only low-rank ones. In all of Changfang's safe zone, D-rank sword skills are the best currently available. The girl says they have 3 and asks if he's interested. She shows him Angry Cut, a D-rank skill that uses mental energy for a charged strike, dealing 1.2 times strength damage. Next is Quick Stroke Cut, which uses stamina to speed up the draw and makes the first hit deal 120% of agility damage. The last is Multiple Cut, which uses a lot of mental energy to unleash 3 fast slashes, each dealing 0.6 times strength damage with a chance to cause bleeding. He quickly realizes all 3 are bottom tier and basically useless, even with the Sword God system boosting his skills. He still has to choose carefully. The final result depends a lot on the base skill. Storm Sword is already terrifying, but it has a short delay before firing and its wide range makes it less flexible. That means if he faces fast, high-rank mutants later on, they could dodge Storm Sword and use its recovery time to rush him. The shop owner asks if anything stands out to him. If he's not in a rush, they can bring in skill books from other safe zones, pay the fee, and they can get him a C-rank skill or even a B-rank one if it doesn't have to be a sword skill. The Mac turns it down. He chooses the Quick Stroke Cut book instead, curious what a speed skill will become after the system upgrades it. The owner is stunned. After selling such valuable materials, he's really picking a trash skill. Then he shrugs. That's not his business. He tells the girl to sell Quick Stroke Cut for 600 credits and finish the deal. She hands the Matthias skill book. The owner just tells the Matthias to come back again. He clearly thinks the mage is an easy mark. The mage meanwhile notes he still has 100 credits left. He decides to use it to buy Shan and some treats. When he gets home, she asks where he got all that good food. He tells her it's one of the perks of being awakened and reminds her that better days are coming. He says he picked those snacks just for her. In a world like this, staying alive is already a miracle, so food like this is a real luxury. She lights up and says only rich families can make snacks like that at home. No one in her whole building has ever had anything like it. The mage tells her to eat up. there will be plenty more later. After a while she falls asleep. He thinks about how his mother is still working late, his little sister is asleep, and now it's finally time to learn the new skill. He calls on the sword god system. The skill is absorbed right away. Quick stroke cut evolves into SS rank fast draw cut. When he checks the new description, it says the move uses 4000 psionic energy for a lightning fast slash, boosting strength and agility by 600 for a split second. The strike also releases a wild key storm. A 600-point agility boost even for just a second could make up for the startup delay on his attacks. That confirms he picked the right skill, but now he needs somewhere to test it. Then he gets an idea. For a speed test, only one place makes sense. 2 hours later, on the edge of Old Changfeng, he heads into a monster-infested area. He says this is the perfect spot because Jing Yuan stayed unexplored in both his past life and this one. Back then he found a hidden second-order mutant here, one that nearly maxed out speed and agility, and it carried a valuable piece of blue equipment. But then he notices his feet are stuck in a sticky sludge. A mutant suddenly appears behind him and he freezes for a moment. A zombie nearly lands a hit, its mouth stretching wide like a man-eating plant as it lunges to bite him. The mage pulls his dagger and tears through the monster. He mutters that luckily it was only a zombie. If it had been a climber, this would be a whole different problem. Fighting in this toxic muck is hard mode and he needs to find better ground fast. What he doesn't know is that a climber is already watching him from a distance. Then the mage gets attacked. Last time he fought this thing he was already second order and had blue gear, yet he still got crushed. In his current state is only a little slower than before, which means the climber could still tear him apart in seconds. He thinks that if his memory is right, the climber should be nearby. Then he looks back and wonders if that object had been there in his past life too. He cuts through the metal bars, thinking they might work well for a trap. While he's busy with that, a hidden elite monster appears behind him, ready to strike. Seeing it rush in, he can only dodge. He knows he has to finish this thing before the climber shows up again. At least falling into this trap turned out to be useful. But then something starts forming behind him. He turns and sees a second-order mid-level mutant climber. The mage's heart drops. When he looks back, he realizes he messed up. It's become a 2-on-1 fight. The climber charges at insane speed and he barely escapes. Seeing how fast it is, he wonders why this one seems quicker than the one from his past life. He figures staying close to the climber makes its next move easier to dodge because of its blind spot under the light. But reading an elite monster's attack is still hard and he has no time to think. He has to avoid the climber now, but the elite strike is already too close. Looking ahead, he realizes he'll have to stop it with his own body, while barely shifting off the monster's line of attack. Now that trap isn't extra anymore. It's become even more dangerous. He came here to test his new skill, but in a situation like this using Sword Storm would be much safer. The problem is, the setup isn't right for a clean Sword Storm. The climbers are too fast, and the attack probably won't catch them. Perfectly dodging both mutants with his current body is impossible, so the only move he can trust is Skylight Flux. But Fast Draw Cut only targets one enemy. The climber closes in beside the other monster, and the mix suddenly remembers part of the skill description about the Keyblade. He starts running, unsure how far that Keyblade really extends, so he assumes the shortest reach just to be safe. If things work out, the length of his arm plus the sword should still be enough. Even though Skylight Flux is a single target skill, it might hit both monsters at once. He dashes between them and uses Skylight Flux, cutting through both in one move. Both enemies drop and he notices that the attack killed them together. It even triggered a special effect. Not only did it break the first target's twisted limbs like the description said, but the Keyblade also had a piercing effect. Even though it worked, he'd rather never risk a double hit like that again. Still, after thinking it over, he realizes that special effect may not trigger every time. He needs to study this skill more. The rewards start coming in, and even though he got forced into the fight, the result made it worth it. In Changfeng's military district, a man asks what just happened. They picked up an energy fluctuation he's never seen before. He orders the others to sound the alarm immediately. Everyone starts asking what's going on and why the alarm went off so suddenly. The man explains that abnormal energy spikes were detected in the suburbs. He wonders if a third Ordinger awakened is active out there. Another officer says none of Changfeng's third order awakened are outside today. That means it could be someone from another military zone or even a special team from another country. They decide to send investigators at once. 20 minutes later, they arrive to check what happened. One of them says he's never seen battle marks like this before and he can't think of any nearby third-order powerhouse who fights this way. The other tells him to wait and look at the ground. they're shocked when the residual energy trace shows that whoever used this move spend at least 4,000 psionic energy to release 4,000 energy and not collapse on the spot. That person would have to be at least a major mid-level third-order figure, he immediately says. This is now an emergency beyond their department's authority. They need to report to the great commander right away. He can already imagine their faces when they find out who used that much power. Meanwhile, back in Changfeng's safe zone, the Mika checks the stats on the gear he got: agility +4, strength +2, attack speed up 30%, a special effect that can deal double damage for a total of 120 attack, and a skill that lets the user dash forward and strike the stomach for 2 seconds. It mixes movement with burst damage, so it's no surprise this top-tier item sold for 60,000 credits in his past life. He hopes to get a good price for it again. When he gets home he sees it's already late and decides he'd better list it online right away. He posts it and thinks the listing barely goes up before questions start pouring in. The gear is even more wanted than it was in his past life. One buyer says he's interested in the windbreaker and asks for a discount. The Mika answers 60,000 credits, no less. The buyer keeps trying to bargain, offering resources, gear, skills and food instead. Another person throws out 30,000. With this many buyers, the Mika realizes selling it online won't be a problem. He sends back that if they really want it the price can't be under 30,000 credits. Though other loot can be included too. White-grade equipment is fine, but he only wants sword type skills, and a psychic fruit would be even better. One of the buyers gets excited. For gear this good he has to get his hands on it, even if he has to sell everything and go broke. He says he'll get it no matter what and tells everyone to check the tribe's gear, especially anything tied to swords. They all agree. Half an hour later they bring everything they found, but the boss still feels it's not enough, so he decides to put down a deposit to reserve the item. At the same time he orders them to keep gathering money fast. When the deposit reaches the Mikoish, he can tell that guy really wants the gear. That makes him think about his past life, when his mother and Anton were always struggling and never had a good day. Now that he's been reborn with resources, he wonders why they should suffer at all. If he can't change that, what was the point of coming back? He decides his mother and Anton will have a better life. The next day he heads to Changfen real estate. As soon as he arrives a girl asks what kind of apartment he's after and he says he wants the best one. He tells her to hurry since he's busy and asks which building has move-in ready units. She secretly looks down on him thinking a zero-order awakened person can't afford a place like this. Then she says the best units cost 40,000 credits, acting like it's way beyond him and points him toward the 2,000 credit options instead. She even hints that she has better customers to deal with. Same old story, a salesperson acting rich just because she works around money. He tells her that's not needed and says he'll take the 40,000 credit unit and make the transfer. Even then she keeps talking down to him, saying that if he really has the money he should transfer it now and move in today. In her mind he's just wasting her time, but when he checks the card, the balance shows only 13,000 credits, not enough to pay. He asks her to wait a minute and she snaps back asking if he came there just to mess around. Right then a message pops up. The buyer apologizes for the delay and says he scraped together 39,375 credits plus some equipment and psychic fruits, asking if they can make the deal. The mech checks the offer and sees the all-white gear isn't amazing but it's solid as a full set, so he accepts. Soon 39,000 credits hit his account and he calmly says he can transfer the money now. Her whole attitude flips. Suddenly she's calling him a successful young man and acting shocked that someone his age has that much money. Then she asks if he knows how to make the transfer. Next she brings him to the VIP room and says she'll personally handle everything there. The transfer goes through without a problem. After that the mech takes his sister to the new home. She asks if they're really going to live there and he tells her she won't need to pick through trash anymore. He hands her the key and has their mother go inside too. When she asks if he isn't coming, he says he still has one more thing to do once he's away. He thinks about how the resources he needs to kill the alpinist are almost gone, so he has to restock fast. The military already cleared out the high-level mutants in Tianfeng, leaving only a few practical missions and enough for low-level awakeners. That leaves just one choice, Cadaver Academy, the only dungeon outside Tianfeng's safe zone where psychic fruits can still be found. It also has second-order mutants and your score can earn special rewards. So far nobody has ever gotten the top score, which means those rewards are still available. With his SS level skills he believes he can take first place there, so he heads in, full of excitement. He enters the level C dungeon, Cadaver Academy. The mission has a second-order entry limit and he confirms it. A moment later he's inside and the system says there are 14 players currently in the instance. Then the Cadaver Academy dungeon officially begins. The scenario seals off and the rules appear. This is a normal scenario with no paranormal or special events. The enemies are mutants, zombies, and some humans. The setting is 7 days after a sudden apocalypse with zombies taking over the old academy. To leave freely, he has to finish the basic tasks first. The mech reads through all of it. Meanwhile, a guy in the back asks if anyone has cleared this dungeon before. A blonde man says he has done it once and since most of them are new, he offers to lead the group. A bald man says he heard Cadaver Academy is tough, so if the blonde guy has experience they should follow his lead. The blonde man then explains that this dungeon is considered mid to hard among second-order cases and bad teamwork can get the whole party wiped out. That warning scares everyone. Then they notice the mech barely seems to care, so one of them walks over and mocks him, asking if a zero-order guy came here to die. He says the mech picked the wrong dungeon and wonders if anyone told him this is a second-order case. The mech answers with nothing but a cold-killing aura, forcing the guy back. That instantly makes him realize this zero-order kid is a little scary. Still, he says they don't have time to babysit him and if he can't handle the dungeon, he should stay behind and not drag them down. Then he softens it a little, saying it's fine if the mech hangs back to gain experience since zero-order people need chances to grow too. After that he warns the rest that the basic reward is only a piece of white gear. He says everyone is probably here for the harder objectives, so they need to remember what he's about to say. No one should ever try to clear tasks alone under any circumstances. He asks if they understand. Last time he made that mistake without knowing better and pulled 2 level 2 enemies at once. The team got torn apart. He only lived because 2 second-order fighters went all out and barely cleaned the place up. He nearly died from fear and got nothing for it. Those were rough days. Meanwhile, the mech checks his system screen. He notes that his stats are still too low, so he probably can't save his psychic fruits. When he sees his strength is already at 17, he remembers that a fully boosted second-order awakened usually caps at 18. That means his raw strength is already close to theirs. With stats like that, plus 2 SS-level skills, he feels sure that he'll become Cadaver Academy's top scorer. The blonde leader says the shield is about to vanish, so everyone should get ready for the Nokanobe Cadaver mission. He explains that this boss is around mid-second order, and with 14 people the damage shouldn't be too bad. The group agrees to follow his lead. Still, the girl in the mask asks if he'll cover them if things get dangerous. The cat-type fighter jumps in and tells her not to worry because he'll stay with the team. Once everyone is ready, they need to move out. As they leave they notice someone already went ahead. It's the mech. He's pushing forward alone and they wonder if he's trying to get himself killed. The blonde man tells them to ignore him since he's only zero order, then tells everyone to stay close and keep formation. While they focus up, the mech charges up the stairs. When the group reaches the next area, a girl cries out for help saying they're trapped and asking them to save them. But in truth, she's already turned into a monster. The mech remembers falling for this in his past life. Back then he thought they were just dungeon NPCs, stopped to help, got ambushed, and was eaten alive. He'll never forget it. He also knows the butcher usually drops the best gear in this dungeon, so he heads to the roof to lure out the hidden boss. With Storm Sword, he plans to wipe them all out. At the same time, the blonde leader tells the others that this is the area where the Konobe corpse appears. He warns them to avoid other monsters before the boss fight. The more enemies they kill, the more savage the dungeon gets, so it's safer to go straight for the boss. After the first boss dies, all the monsters in the dungeon enter a fury state. They'll need to hide until that buff ends, then keep going. Hearing that, the girl says this dungeon sounds easy, but the bald man suddenly tells everyone to look ahead. The mid-second order mutant Konobe is coming, and then Konobe spots them from a distance. It turns, locks onto them and starts aiming while carrying a human corpse. The group realizes they've been seen and starts moving. The blonde leader says he's a tank type awakened and can hold the monster while the others focus on damage. The bald man says he's an archer and will fire first. He also warns the captain to step right, so he won't get hit by the magic attack. Then he pins Konobe in place, but all the attacks start flying straight at him. He thinks this is his opening and believes the plan worked. He launches Konobe away, but it vanishes in front of them and leaps right onto the hair guy. He can't understand what just happened or why it suddenly switched targets. The blonde leader quickly apologizes, saying he lost control for a second, but now it's fine and they can go back to attacking while he keeps it pinned like before. Meanwhile, the Mick thinks the butcher should be here and wonders why he can't see him. He decides to check the mission list, but then he realizes the butcher kill mission is gone. If he didn't kill it, then who did? While the group is still fighting Konobe, one of them gets struck from behind by another monster, then a second one rushes in and the whole fight turns into chaos. They ask why he's here and the parrot says it's obvious he secretly took the mission. Since he's a tank, his damage is low. That usually makes it hard to get the best dungeon loot, but if he's the last one alive, even with a bad score he can still claim the top reward. Then he lies and asks who stole the mission, trying to pin it on the Mick. He says that Brat ran off and is trying to get the parrot killed. This guy Gain says he won't fall for such a dirty trick. He calls for them to come up top and pulls both monsters toward them. Using his tank skill, he holds them in place and tells everyone to attack. Seeing that, they start thinking the parrot is incredible. The Mick quickly realizes he's setting him up for stealing the loot and thinks it's a pretty clever move. Too bad he picked the wrong target, because there are still 2 hidden bosses in this dungeon. The Mac accepts the C rank mission to kill the pestilent mutant and the B rank mission to kill the corpse master, making both of them spawn after him. When those monsters appear, the Mac tells the others not to just stand there and enjoy the show, and just like that they charge straight at him. But the Mac jumps from the top of the building saying both bosses are chasing him, enraged, and that's exactly what he wanted. The parrot notices him falling and asks if that's Order Zero. The Mac lands near him and he can't understand why the boy is there. Right then more monsters show up and wipe out the team in seconds. The parrot is almost frozen with fear. The Mac asks if he doesn't like games. Then he says they're playing for real now because there are 4 bosses here at once and things just got serious. So go ahead, blame the Mac for bringing monsters in. Now he wants to see what they'll do, and the parrot realizes the Mac accepted every mission. The Mac says it's only fair after all the trouble they tried to dump on him. The parrot calls him crazy. His plan was to cheat those awakened ones and finish the boss in the last 3 hours, but Order Zero ruined everything. He orders everyone to run to the auditorium and follow their captain. They only stare for a second, but they still follow. The Mac thinks this is perfect, because once everyone is gathered in the auditorium, handling them will be easier. So when they reach the auditorium, the Mac is already there waiting. The parrot says he really knows how to run. Then the guy with the bandana says if the Mac wants to die he'll gladly help, but he had no right to drag the others into it. The second he attacks, the Mac slips past it cleanly. The bandana guy is stunned, wondering how an Order Zero dodged a second order attack. Then the Mac asks if his friend was killed by the butcher. He says he never took that mission and everyone finally starts to understand. The parrot left a new Konobe's corpse there on purpose to get Zantao killed. Now they see the truth. He planned to use them as cannon fodder and take all the XP. The parrot says, now isn't the time to fight because that boy accepted every other mission too. The mutants are almost there and their only hope is to hold this spot if they want to live. The problem is, for second order mutants are way too much for them, and that's not even counting the corpse master who's at the peak of second order, but Nyson tells them to stop whining. This building can't be destroyed by anything below third order other than Nukonubi. The rest are too large to do much besides climb, so they split into 2 teams. The long-range fighters will stop the other 3 mutants while everyone else handles Nukonubi and the zombie horde at the front door. If they make it out alive, he swears he'll crush both Guyu and Order Zero. The Mick just listens to that nonsense. He figures he'll wait and see whether they can really hold out. Everyone moves to the edge of the building to fire long-range attacks at the 3 climbing up. Then they realize something's wrong. Their attacks aren't doing anything. That means trouble, because the monsters keep coming. They start wearing down and the parrot says it's over. They're completely screwed, but the Mick notices almost everyone is gathered there. If they want to live they have to jump with him. They ask what he means, and when the Mick leaps off they keep cursing him. Then he releases a massive pressure into the sky. They realize that blast is coming from Order Zero and think they're done for, so their only choice is to risk jumping too. Guyu can't believe it. To him jumping might be an even worse death. Since he's a tank, staying put may be his best shot at surviving. The Mick tells Guyu he made the right choice by not jumping, then uses the storm sword to blow the whole place apart. The bosses and Guyu get sent straight to hell. The others can barely believe Order Zero did all that by himself, and they're shocked it ended so fast. The bosses were erased in a second and Guyu turned to dust too. Now they understand if he took all those missions, his power must be at least third order. Then the mech comes back to them. He asks if everyone's okay. One of the boys starts apologizing and the hairy guy quickly cuts in saying what he said about that damned Order Zero wasn't meant like that. The mech brushes it off and says it doesn't matter now. What matters is finding the remaining zombies and finishing them. So they all start following the mecha's lead and he tells them to move out fast. One of them is already starting to fall for him. Down below, the mech remembers hearing in his past life that a Nukonubi hit a blue grade item here. It should be half a skull. But after all this damage, finding it won't be easy then. He spots something shining ahead and picks up the Rancer's skull equipment. Its effects are telekinesis and psychic detection. He has to place it on his forehead to absorb it. The mech says this skull is a treasure for psychics, since their biggest weakness is that they can't turn their power into solid attacks like other awakened can. That makes it hard for them to do real damage, but with this boost, psychics are about to rise. As soon as he puts it on his face, he starts screaming from the pain. Once it's over, he tries out telekinesis by lifting a huge stone behind him, then he hurls it with insane force. He lifts several more pieces of rubble and uses the wreckage like rifle rounds to pierce straight through a massive rock. He says his power isn't bad at all, and once he levels up, he's sure he'll be even stronger. Next he decides to test psychic detection. The moment he uses it, the system gives him a message with a direction 3 o'clock distance 12.3, he can sense each of his friends. Seeing that he says his current max range seems to be 29 meters, which is enough for now, then the system announces that every zombie in the Cadaver Academy has been killed, all dungeon missions are complete, and the exits are now open. The mech is thrilled. His completion rate is 100% with an SS rank. The rewards are random drops, blue equipment, 6 white attribute points, 3 skill books, 1 B level bonus, and 2 extra attribute points for surpassing Cadaver Noob, the Mutant Butcher, the Pestilent Mutant, and the Corpse Master. The mech says those rewards are beautiful, and maybe he can even sell the white gear online. Now he wants to check the blue item, and when he opens it, a portal appears. Inside are the Thunder Boots. He sees they boost attack and speed, plus 10 agility points. That makes him wonder if they're part of the agility class set. He says it's time to put on the Thunder Boots and take the advancement mission for Second Order. Later that night, at Trenfeng's mission center, the Marquis walks in, and the receptionist asks what kind of mission he wants. He says advancement missions. She asks if he's moving from Order 0 to First Order. But he says he'll take all for Second Order missions. That scares her. She asks him to repeat himself, wondering if he's crazy or if she's dreaming. She asks if he's really Order 0, then says he must be the one dreaming. Doesn't he know the rule against taking missions above his rank? Taking 4 at once is insane. Even dual awakened people usually take them one by one, and the penalties for failure are brutal. The Mangas says he knows. Failing one mission cuts 50% of his main stats, and failing all of them could leave him crippled or dead. Even so, he's sure he can handle it. To prove it, he takes the strength test right in front of her and shatters the crystal. She sees his power is already at the top of First Order. Then he asks if she can register him now. She's terrified. Just then someone arrives, and when the Mick turns around, he's surprised. It's an admiral from the Fushudo Navy. He asks why an Order 0 is still taking missions so late, and why he's pushing himself this hard. As captain of Tien Fen's Recon Squad, he says that no matter how hard the Mick tries, the psychic class won't amount to much, but the girl says Yuning has already changed that. Before they can go further, other troops rush in and call for the captain. They report signs of what looks like a Third Order battle at Cadaver Academy, and their superiors ordered an urgent investigation, so he tells everyone to move out. The Mick just watches. He knows the person who set up that test and told him to smash everything was him, so there's nothing to fear. Honestly, staying under the government's radar is a huge advantage. Nobody's chasing him, and nobody cares how strong he's getting because they still think he's trash. That lets him move freely. The old zoo has turned into a heaven for the dead. One of the men asks the commander if they should report this operation to Tien Fen's safe zone. Another points out that Tien Fen has been sending troops all over lately like they're searching for something. He worries they might run into them. But Commander Hong Gang isn't concerned. His son Hong Xin was just picked for the Awakening Project, and he only wants a piece of blue equipment for him. He also says Tien Fen is still taking heat from their superiors for giving up on an SS rank named Jining. Reporting this now would just rub salt in the wound. The young man agrees, and Gang asks if the intel is really solid. Is there truly a Second Order mutant in that area that's about to break into the Third Order? He doesn't want to waste Zhong's wine from Tien Fen for nothing. The bald man tells him to relax. The tip is reliable, and the zombie tiger should definitely drop blue equipment. Gang says that's good to hear. Then he orders everyone to get ready. Their job is to keep the other monsters busy while he handles the zombie tiger alone. The mech is there too. He notices that 2 of his advancement missions are in the zoo, so doing them together makes more sense. Then he activates his psychic detection. Right away he finds other awakened teams hunting the same targets. One of those teams even has a Third Order fighter. That Third Order presence puts the mech on alert. He shuts off psychic detection and realizes this just got messy. If those people kill the targets first, his missions will fail. He needs to move and move fast. Gang's group finds the zombie dog and the blood bear before anyone else. Once the monsters close in, the team starts fighting, trying to pull them away so the commander can focus and buy time. As they lure off the dog and bear, they suddenly sense the zombie tiger's aura right behind Gang. Gang says the beast finally showed up. He raises his halberd and gets ready to fight it. The mech figures the third order expert is probably after the zombie tiger's blue equipment too, but he still has to finish his missions, and honestly he wants that equipment himself. Still, kill stealing isn't exactly honorable, and making an enemy out of that guy isn't worth it. But if Gang fails to kill the tiger, that changes things. He checks the battlefield and sees the monsters are spread out about 100 meters apart. He can only use light flux of the sky once, and trying it from this far is too risky. He needs the perfect moment. Meanwhile, Gang keeps pressing the tiger with wind cut. The tiger slams him head on, but Gang recovers and the mech realizes he's strong. He's probably using a dual strength and agility build. Gang leaps onto the tiger and channels lightning straight into its head, driving the beast into the ground, but then he notices it still isn't dead. The monster lashes out with its tail and sends him flying. He crashes hard into a wall. Gang admits this is what you'd expect from a monster on the edge of the third order. It still has a ton of energy left. At this rate he won't win without a finishing move, so he pours in nearly all his power to unleash Flame Cut. He throws everything into the attack and the tiger is swallowed by fire. Gang thinks it's over. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is struggling badly against the other monsters. Then one of them shouts to the giant with the mohawk that the commander did it so they don't need to keep fighting. He says he'll cover the retreat and they begin pulling back from the huge bear. The girl also warns the dog to stop chasing them since they're already leaving. The mech watches the distance and decides it's good enough. He thinks the time has come, but then he senses something off. He immediately realizes something went wrong. Then the tiger's body changes as it advances into the third order. The mech knows that after this evolution he'll have no choice but to bring the monster down himself. So he uses light flux of the sky straight on the beast. Gang can't believe the power pouring out from the animal. The blast wipes out all three monsters at once. The team wonders if that attack came from someone in the middle of the third order or maybe even a peak third order expert. When the remains fall near them, they're terrified. The bald man stammers that the tiger was killed, but the commander snaps at him to shut up. He has eyes, he can see that. He quickly understands someone stole his kill, but whoever did it is far stronger than him, so picking a direct fight would be stupid. Instead he plans to have a serious talk with Commander Xiao Hai. The mech takes a huge hit from the backlash, but he still gets the loot because after using that kind of attack he has to rest. He heads off to check the blue equipment stats. It's the vengeful tiger Maniplash. He's thrilled. No wonder a third order commander wanted them. He equips the gauntlets right away. A while later Xiao Hai hears there's another dead end at the Cadaver Academy, just like the body found in the forest before. There's still no clue about the mysterious third order awakened. He can't even tell if it's the same person. Then a subordinate rushes in and reports that the exploration department just detected 2 third order energy signatures. He gets furious and asks if this is happening again. What is Hong doing and where did this third order awaken come from? He orders everyone to return at once. If they don't figure this out before Commander Xiao gets back, he'll tear them apart. Just then Gang arrives and calls for Xiao Hai. Hong Xiao steps in instead. Hong asks if this is Commander Hong from the Zhejiang district in person. He explains that Commander Xiao went to handle matters on the front line and asks what has him so worked up. Gang asks who he is and whether he knows Huang. Huang introduces himself as a captain in the reconnaissance department and Commander Xiao's right-hand man. If it concerns the commander he can listen and see what can be done. Gang explains that this morning in the dead zoo he was hunting a zombie tiger to get equipment for his son. Right when he was about to claim it, a third-order fighter from this district stole his prey. Huang is stunned to hear about the zoo and that energy reading. Gang repeats that someone from this district showed up just as he was about to finish the kill and snatched it right in front of him. He asks if Huang is even listening, but Huang says that can't be right. Everyone knows Commander Xiao is the only third order in all of Qingfang. Gang starts saying he knew this would be useless. He decides he'll head to the front lines and settle this with Xiao Hai personally. He calls his whole team to move out. Huang realizes this is serious and that he needs to contact Commander Xiao right away. When Xiao hears about it, he questions how an unknown third order awakened could be operating in Qingfang, especially one who managed to steal from Hong Gong himself. He can hardly believe one, maybe even more third order fighters are hiding in the city. That's a major security problem. He orders Huang to find them but handle it carefully so they don't cause panic. Huang agrees and says he'll start by checking the city's equipment sale records right away. Meanwhile, the mix reviews his advancement missions. The first was killing the zombie dog, a mutant at the peak of First Order. The second, from the agility path, requires him to get wind eagle feathers from a second order mutant. The third, from the psychic path, tells him to form a team and kill the blood bear, a second order transformed monster. And the mental path mission is to survive for 24 hours inside a junior anomaly. So now he only needs the wind eagle feathers and that anomaly run to finally reach second order. The feathers are easy enough to buy online. They're rare but demand is low, so most people would rather sell them than keep a low-level material. Soon he gets an offer. The seller starts talking about wind eagle feathers in a pretty shady way, acting like they're nearly impossible to find. The mech instantly knows he's being played. He doesn't have time for this and offers 800 credits. The seller is shocked. That's more than he makes in a year. As a First Order C rank awakened, he thinks this kid is an easy mark and plans to squeeze him for everything. So he pushes back and says 900, actually 1000 credits. He even claims he risked his life for those feathers. The mech doesn't buy it, not for a second. He calls it pathetic and says if he's not mistaken, the guy is only a First Order C rank. Is he really trying to say he fought a wind eagle with his bare hands? More likely he just stumbled across the feathers the woods. He thought he got lucky and tried to rip him off, but the mech knew the real price. He needed the feathers fast, sure, but not that badly. If the guy wanted to be greedy, he could keep them. That was when the seller started to panic. He quickly backed down and said 800 credits was fine after all. The mech wasn't having it. He said the price was 400 now, take it or leave it. After that little lesson, the guy had no choice but to accept half. With the feathers handled, only one mission was left, the anomaly event dungeon at Manhwa Educational Institution. People said this dungeon was unlike the others. In all of history, no one had ever cleared it with an SS rank. That was because it didn't test strength, it tested willpower. The mech chose to go in anyway. He wanted to see just how strong his mind really was. The moment he entered, he felt the world shift. Then he looked ahead and noticed something else. He wasn't alone in the dungeon. Everyone there had a headache, and Liang Tenfei pointed out how weird this dungeon was. Even the way they were brought in. Li's Bulping introduced himself next. He said he was at the peak of First Order in the mental series, and asked if everyone else was mental type too. Liang answered like it was obvious. Who else would pick a mission like this? The girl agreed. Mental types were known for weak combat power. Some of them couldn't even beat a normal mutant, and teaming up with other awakened usually didn't help much either. Li Zipping admitted they had a point, but he still believed this dungeon favored them. If it was really about willpower, then they had a real chance. He added that he'd been through 2 similar dungeons before, and asked if they were okay with him leading. The girl liked the idea, so Li turned to the boy behind him and asked if the Mechapi had any problem with that. The Mechapi said no, he just wanted to get moving. Then the mission appeared: find and imprison the ghost hiding in Manhwa school. Step 1. Figure out where the ghost is. Step 2. Don't trust lies. Step 3. Once the ceiling talisman is active, if they fail to hit the ghost, the mission ends in instant elimination. Tenfei immediately got nervous and asked if ghosts were actually real. Li told everyone to stay calm. It was called a ghost, but really, it was the will of someone tainted by psychic energy before death, a kind of mental type mutation. Even so, ghosts were dangerous because normal attacks couldn't hurt them, and they could also mess with other people's minds. Based on the first step, they needed to search the building for clues. If anyone found the ghost, they weren't supposed to rush in, run, call the others and let him handle it. He said he had a way. Garuda said the old man sounded dependable, and he was glad Li's was with them. Li split them into 3 groups to check the classroom, the archives, and the teacher's office. He decided Huang Xiao was the weakest, so she'd stay with him. Tenfei would go with Fang Yu, and Yining would search alone. If anyone found something, they had to share it right away. The mech headed to the archives and found almost nothing there except a few newspaper clippings. One article said Professor Dao was suspected of harming Wanfeng, who later poisoned herself. Right then a spirit lunged at him, trying to bite him, but the mech saw it was a woman's ghost and guessed it was Wanfeng. He decided her will had fully formed and used will transformation on her. He started pounding the thing and knocked it back. A second later, he realized she had escaped. That made him wonder if the attack had just been a test. When everyone regrouped, they started sharing what they'd found. The mix said there had been a harassment case at the school a year ago. The victim was Wanfeng. She later poisoned herself and Professor Dao was the main suspect. Li Siping answers seemed obvious. Wanfeng was harassed. Her family tried and failed to get compensation. Then after her death, she became a ghost, started a fire, and took revenge. After that, Taoist priest came and sealed her, but the talisman fell off, so their job was to find it and seal her again. He then asked Wen Xiao to explain her idea to everyone and suggested they meet in dorm room 201, where the fire happened, because he suspected the talisman was there. The mix thought that logic was way too simple and wondered how Li's picked the right room so easily. Tan Fui didn't question it at all. He just believed Uncle Li was right, that Wanfang was the ghost and that they needed to head there, but then Nurtler looked back and spotted something. He warned Fei that something was behind them, then yelled for everyone to run. It was Wanfang. At the teacher's dorm, Li got there first and noticed the others still hadn't arrived. He said he'd wait outside and told the two with him to look for the talisman. The girl found the iron door jammed and said she'd try opening it with her will. Instead, the mix ripped it open with brute force. They were stunned and started wondering if he was really from the mental series. The mix just said this was faster. Inside, the girl called out that they'd found the talisman. The mix also noticed a humanoid burn mark and pointed out that the talisman had fallen in the teacher's dorm. He asked Huang Xie if any of her clues mentioned a teacher being burned alive in that room. She said no and asked why that mattered. Just then, Nurtler ran in calling for Li's help, saying the ghost was after them. The ghost nearly caught Nurtler, grabbed his shoulder, and went into his mouth, possessing him. After that, Nurtler turned into a monster, and Qianfei tried to run, but Nurtler pounced and bit him. In the chaos, Li shouted that the ghost had taken Huangxia too and said he'd help. He told them they had to activate the talisman and get ready to seal the ghost. The mix said he'd do it. He would activate the talisman. At the same time, Li used mental chains to bind the creature, locking Nurtler in place. He urged the mix to hurry because he couldn't hold it much longer, and told him to seal it. But instead, the mix grabbed the talisman and slapped it onto the teacher, the one who had been pretending to be Li's the whole time. The others instantly called him an idiot. They said he sealed the wrong target, wasted the talisman, and now they were all going to die. But the mix asked if that was really true. He pointed out to Huangxia that when he threw the talisman at Fan Yuan dropped like a rock. Then everyone noticed Li's had been the one sealed, while Fan Yuan had only collapsed. That meant Li's had been behind everything. The mix explained that Ji Yushan had disguised himself as Uncle Li's I Ping. Using will manifestation, he created the fake ghost. He was testing them, checking their abilities and messing with their minds. He first tried to break into the mix's mind, but after seeing his will was too strong, he switched to someone weaker like Fan Yuan. It looked like possession, but he had really been controlling Fan Yuan's will the whole time. Then he staged that fake fight and kept pushing the idea that they had to seal Fan Yuan. It was all a trick to make them waste the talisman so the system would kill them and set him free. Bang Xia realized that if what Yuan said was true, then if she had thrown the talisman at Fan Yuan she probably would have died. The mix said the enemy was sealed now and couldn't fight back, so he asked why he was still pretending, and told him to show his real form. Then he struck with his mental rays. The old man took the hit and started to change, finally revealing what he really was. His human shape melted away, turning into a horrible monster. He admitted his disguise had been perfect and asked how Yening figured it out. The mix just said the mission was over and they had won, so there was no reason to satisfy him. But Timmy laughed and asked if he really thought that was enough. He said the dungeon had another hidden objective, and without clearing every objective no one could ever reach SS rank. The mix asked what hidden objective he meant. Dao asked why no one had ever earned SS in this dungeon. Then he offered a secret. The hidden condition was making him disappear by his own will. If the mix told him how he was exposed, he'd vanish. He asked what Yening thought. The mix compared it to Cadaver Academy. In his past life, if he hadn't known the dungeon's hidden condition, he never would have gotten cess there either. It was a shame he hadn't had time to clear more dungeons back then. The army had him tied up with bigger problems. He said fine, he'd play Dao's game, but first he wanted to know why Dao cared so much. Then Dao started acting strange, and the mix realized he had been born with spiritual intelligence. He could remember past runs of this same dungeon. That was why he was willing to reveal his disguise. He wanted to learn from each failure, perfect the act and fool even more awakened people next time. Huangxia was horrified. Since the apocalypse began, she'd never heard of anything like that. If it was true, then this wasn't just a C-rank dungeon anymore. It might be B-rank or worse. Maybe even a system bug. Dao praised Yu Rang for figuring that out and said he was exactly right. Then he asked again if the explanation would come now. The mix said it was actually pretty simple. The first clue was the warning not to trust the ghost words. That should have pointed to Wan Feng, but she never said a single word the whole time. And second, Li stayed silent in the chat, which made the mix suspect he couldn't access the system. The third clue was simple. People only said Wan Feng tried to run. Nobody ever clearly said she died. The teachers, though, they were definitely dead. And one more thing, if that talisman was meant for Huan Feng, it should have been in her grave, not in the teacher's room. So the mix pieces it together. Dao cornered Huan Feng, and she tried to escape, but she lived. After that she was locked away in an asylum, and couldn't testify against him. Her family wanted justice, so they went to the school and demanded compensation. When that failed, they set the fire. As for Ji Yushan, spiritual energy twisted his mind right before death, turning him into a ghost. The haunting only started after the fire, which is why they later brought in a Taoist priest to seal it. Huan Xiao says Yangling is right. They were so caught up in Li Zipabing's story that they never stopped to question it. Zipabing stayed calm and logical even after seeing a ghost, and that kind of nerve isn't normal for a First Order awakened. Dao admits the conclusion is right, but says the logic behind it is weak. He argues the ghost could have spoken after being sealed. Maybe the reason he wasn't sending messages was because he was busy searching for clues. Huan Xiu also could have told him about Huan Feng trying to fool herself, and the ghost's form he says fits that tragedy perfectly. As for the dorm, Huan Feng may have been trapped there, so of course she'd stay around it. The protagonist tells him that's fair. Those points alone aren't enough to convict him, but he also refuses to trust a ghost's words. If Dao wants the final clue, he has to disappear first, then the mix starts counting down. Dao calls Yangling cruel, but his body is already fading. He urges the boy to hurry up and explain. The mix says the biggest detail is, then pauses on purpose, dragging out the suspense. Dao keeps pushing because he's almost gone. Thinking to himself with a mean little grin, the protagonist finally says the key detail is that he guessed. That makes Dao snap, and he starts cursing at him, but he vanishes before he can do anything else. Huan Xiao stares at the mic and asks if he really just guessed. Did he seriously trick the ghost too? The protagonist tells her to calm down. Now that it's over, they can leave the dungeon. She still asks if it was really a guess. He says of course not. Dao's biggest mistake was saying the talisman was in room 201, because there was no clue that pointed to that. Only the ghost could have known it. So why did he say it? Because he didn't want that thing getting any smarter. The girl thinks he's scarier than the ghost, but she's also impressed. Without him, she knows she would have died in there. The protagonist clears the dungeon with a perfect score and earns SS rank. His reward is 4 points, plus several white tier items. Ice armor, flame body, cut neck, corpse oil, and human skin. He also gets a blue item, the grudge necklace. It's an exclusive passive piece that boosts spiritual energy recovery by 20%. It also raises resistance to psychic attacks by 25%. On top of that, it can block 1 fatal spiritual attack before breaking. Seeing that, the protagonist is more than happy with the reward. Later, back in Changfeng's safe zone, he heads to the mission center around dusk to turn everything in. The staff member is shocked when she realizes it's Yening, the same person who took for second-order advance missions last night. She asks which one he finished, and when he shows her the results, the attendant freezes. He cleared all 4. The Mick just asks if she can move a little faster. That gets her moving, and she quickly starts processing everything. The advanced missions for the strength, agility, physical, and mental series are all completed. He gains 1 point in each stat and also gets a bonus reward of 7,300. He thinks to himself that he reached second order in less than a week. The sword finger system really changes everything. He's growing much faster than he did in his past life. As he leaves, the attendant mutters that this is ridiculous and decides she has to report it to her superiors. Now the protagonist has 19 strength, 18 agility, 15 physical, and 35 will. He figures that's pretty good. Even without gear bonuses, those stats already put him far above a normal second order awakened. Still, he's short 23 points if he wants to learn that B-rank sword technique book he bought. He thinks about spiritual fruits. Each one can raise every stat by 1 point until they hit 20. After that, things get harder. In total he'd need at least 35 fruits, and at 6,000 credits each, that means at least 210,000 credits. Right now that's impossible. He's already cleared most of the worthwhile dungeons in Tianfeng. The only one left that matters is the Factory of Death near the border of Zhenjia. If he remembers right, there's a high-level blue item there, and it can sell for a lot. But when he arrives, he spots signs of a zombie horde. That shouldn't happen for another year. In his past life, Tianfeng got hit early by a huge wave, and a lot of people died. If he remembers right, it was supposed to happen a week later. Realizing that, he decides he needs to warn Commander Xiaoxia so the city can prepare. But when he goes to Xiaoxia, he's surprised to find that Yanning has already sent a message. Tianfeng will be hit by a massive zombie horde in a week, so the city needs to strengthen its defenses right away. Xiao Hai doesn't believe the protagonist. He figures the boy didn't get any special treatment for his SS rank and is now chasing attention. Or maybe his powers are just so weak that every little threat looks huge to him. He says the world has been peaceful since the last big war between humans and zombies 40 years ago. The undead are trapped in abandoned cities now, so another outbreak seems unlikely. To him, finding the mysterious third order in Tianfeng matters more than wasting resources on a warning that might be false. So in Tianfeng's safe zone, he heads into the meeting room, where several people are already gathered. They ask Huang if he found anything important about the Third Order and whether the new lead is real. Huang says yes. Their suspect is Yanning. Xiao Hai can barely believe it, and asks how that makes any sense. Huang explains that they had doubts too, but after investigating, Yanning's recent actions line up best with what the Third Order has been doing. On top of that, he recently bought a spiritual house, something normal people can't afford. So Xiao Hai asks if Huang is really saying Yanning is the mysterious Third Order. He still doesn't buy it. Then Liu Qian, the military committee representative, speaks up. Yanning only awakened a week ago, and even with SS rank talent, there's no way he could rank up that fast on his own. He points to General Zhong, an SS rank awakened with both strength and agility talents. Even with huge resources, General Zhong has only just reached First Order. Because of that, Liu Qian believes a hidden Third Order awakened is backing Yanning. Xiao Hai thinks that actually makes sense. The army may not support Yanning, but someone else could see his potential. With how rare SS talent is, that person might be raising him like an experiment. If that's true, then there is no need to panic. They just need to find this hidden Third Order and bring that person to their side. Then Huang tells Xiao Hai that the mission center just sent news Yanning has completed for Second Order advance missions. That shocks everyone. Xiao Hai starts thinking it over. Based on Liu Qian's idea, maybe a Third Order awakened took Yanning on those missions, handled the hard parts, and let him keep the rewards, so clearing Second Order mission still doesn't prove Yanning isn't connected to a Third Order. After thinking it through, Xiao Hai orders Huang Xiao to send 2 people to watch Yanning's house, and figure out who is backing him. He also wants troops stationed near the abandoned cities around Tianfeng to stop any outbreak before it spreads. He says that if a Third Order really is helping Yanning, that person may have warned him about the zombie threat, better to prepare now than regret it later. They're so stubborn that it's easier for them to believe someone powerful is hiding behind the protagonist than to accept that the kid might actually be that strong. Huang Xiao gets the message right away and leaves. Before he goes, Xiao Hai remembers one more thing and calls out to him, get the blue equipment for Honggang and stop bothering him. After that, the scene shifts to the border between the safe zones of Tianfeng and Xinjiang at the Factory of Death. The protagonist arrives and notes that his Sword of the Storm is gone, so it's time to enter the dungeon anyway. As soon as he steps inside, he gets the notice. This is a B-rank dungeon, and the minimum requirement is Second Order. It's a war-type dungeon with random objectives. There will be 7 enemy waves and players get rewards for surviving each one. After every wave they'll have 3 minutes to vote on leaving. At least 70% must agree to trigger the exit. If not, they have to survive all 7 waves. The first wave begins in 5 minutes. Everyone looks around and the protagonist quickly realizes these people aren't ordinary. They're all from the same faction and Linlan is there too. A third order awakened. That shocks him. Just being near this person gives him a bad feeling, like something terrible is coming. One of them introduces himself as Zhong Lin, an advanced second order awakened. He says war dungeons are all about teamwork, so he was going to offer himself as leader. But since a third order awakened is here, he's willing to let her take charge. She clearly doesn't like that and drives a blow into his stomach, making him cough up blood as the attack keeps going. The Max sees right away just how insanely fast she is. Linlan starts stomping on the guy's head. She warns that one more hit will kill him. He cries out, asking what Zhonglin did wrong and why a third order is doing this. Linlan orders the other 3 to seize everyone at once, warning that anyone who resists dies. Her lackeys tell the whole group to stay together and not move. Sun Gang says they figured it out too late. They walked right into a farm group. Lintang curses their luck because even peak second order fighters can't beat a third order. These farm groups use awakeners like cannon fodder. The meek realizes they force others to fight up front while they take all the rewards. To mutants and awakened beasts, humans are food. To farm groups, people are basically tools. Sun Gang thinks Zhonglin might still be alive, so they need to vote to leave while they still outnumber Linlan's group. But the third order moves first, and kills him on the spot. Even Sun Gang is shocked. Then Linlan introduces herself. She says they're the Bloody Wolf Squad. She's Captain Linlan, and this mission is now under their control. Their lives depend on her, and if they survive the 6th wave and hand over all their rewards, she claims she'll let them live. The Mix already knows that's a lie. Trash like her was never planning to spare anyone. Too bad his celestial light trap is still on cooldown. If he could pair it with the storm sword, he'd wipe them out in seconds. Right now, only the storm sword is ready. It's strong, but he doesn't know how powerful this third order is, or whether she has blue defensive gear. If one strike can't kill her, he might die instead. For now, staying quiet is the smartest move. Linlan says the first wave is about to begin, and orders everyone to report their rank, class, and skills. Sun Gang goes first. He says he's from the physical series, and fights in close combat. Lin Tang says he's from the agility series, and specializes in ranged attacks. Jin Dao says he's from the strength series, and fights up close. Huang Xiaobo says he's from the agility series, and attacks from range too. The mech says his second order from the mental series, and a ranged attacker. Linlan is surprised to see a mental type here. She says that's rare, adds that he has a pretty face, then calls it a waste. The mech keeps calm and thinks that's fine. She can keep underestimating him in the early waves. Then the first wave begins. 100 enemies, including 1 second-order mutant. Linlan says the peak second-order fighters will lead each squad. As for everyone else, she says they'd better fight with everything they have, because if she thinks anyone is holding back, she'll crush their bones herself. Sun Gang is furious. They aren't even helping, just using them as shields. Zombies in front, farm group behind. He wonders if any of them will make it out alive. Lin Tang says they have no choice now. First they need to survive these early waves. The zombies rush in, Lin Tang readies his bow, and says he and Sun Gang will handle the devourer. Everyone else has to deal with the zombies. Sun Gang charges in and smashes through them with his hammer. The mech and Lin Tang stay back, watching the field from above. The boy fires ice spikes and drops several zombies at once. The mech also starts picking them off one by one. Lin Tang starts mocking him, saying that like a true weakling, he can only kill 1 zombie at a time. He laughs and says Yi Lin is hilarious, wondering how someone like that even dared to come here. Without the others, he'd already be dead, and this is only the first wave. Lin Tang can't imagine how he'll deal with the later ones. The first wave ends. Half an hour later, they finish the third wave too, and the fourth starts in 3 minutes. Sun Gang notices the dungeon keeps getting harder. He's worried the next wave might include a peak second-order mutant, and he wonders when Lin Lan is finally going to stop sitting back and do something. Lin Tang thinks that if she doesn't act first, they'll never get a chance to take her down. Just then, Lin Lan speaks to them. She says it's only the third wave, and they're already struggling. Maybe the second-order fighters are pretending, or maybe they're really this useless. Then she makes it clear she won't lift a finger until the 6th wave. If they want to live, they'd better stop holding back. She notices the mech is still unharmed. He says it was just luck. But Lin Tang cuts in and says that's nonsense. Everyone else is doing the real work while he's just tossing weak mental attacks from a safe distance. What else can he even do? Sun Gang studies the boy and thinks he must have some hidden card. Otherwise, how did he reach second order? Maybe he can only use it once or twice, but even that could help when the time comes. The fourth wave begins with 400 zombies, 1 peak second-order enemy, 2 second-order mutants, and 6 first-order mutants. As they charge in, Sun Gang tells Lin Tang the plan. They'll focus on the peak second-order zombie king and the advanced second-order mutant. They have to keep those two busy. Everyone else needs to handle the zombies and the first-order mutants. At first things go smoothly, but Sun Gang gets hit and Lin Tang warns him to be careful. While Lin Tang is launching attacks, a mutant slips past and leaps onto one of their people, latching onto his head. It kills him. One Fang manages to catch that mutant and finish it off, but its blood splashes all over him. The blood is corrosive. The stressed-out boy fires ice spikes to save his friend, but everything is falling apart too fast, he can't keep up. He thinks Wang Yang is dead, Gentle is badly hurt, and the other squad is surrounded. It feels like it's over. The mechs realizes that at this rate they won't even reach the 6th wave. If that happens, he won't get to use his real plan. So he decides to step in. He speeds up and cuts down several enemies at once, then uses telekinesis to strike, sending zombies flying and racking up a multi-kill. The talkative guy stares in shock when he sees the mech finish off a second-order mutant with a single blow. He can't believe this is the same useless guy from before. The mech tells him not to get ahead of himself and to watch his mouth from now on. Then he tells Lin Lin to stay focused. The fight isn't over yet and there are still plenty of mutant zombies left. The boy says that's fine by him, he'll take care of that first-order devourer. Lin Lin narrows her eyes, so he did have some tricks. At that speed those boots must be blue equipment. Now she understands why he dared to enter. One of her lackeys asks if they should kill him now, but Lin Lin says not yet. They don't have many people, so for now they'll just watch him and finish him off next round. She figures that telekinetic burst is probably his only real move. A mental awakener like him is nothing. She can crush him like a bug. For now she tells them to focus on the 2 peak second-order fighters, since those are the real threats. She can tell they're planning something. Half an hour later they clear the 4th wave and the 5th starts in 3 minutes. Song Gang tells Lin Tang they've already lost 1 close-range fighter and 1 ranged fighter, plus another person was badly injured this wave. He only has 2 strong skills left and wants to save them for the 6th wave. Lin Tang says he's in the same spot, they just have to hold on until wave 6. Once Lin Lin finally moves, that'll be their chance to attack together and kill her. Song Gang asks if Lin Tang saw what the mech did. Unlike other mental awakeners who need rest after attacking, he can keep going almost non-stop. Lin Tang agrees that he's different. They can only hope he still has more hidden moves, and for the next wave, as long as he doesn't ruin the plan, it's better to keep him alive. Then the 5th wave arrives. 500 zombies, 2 peak second-order enemies, 3 second-order mutants, and 8 first-order mutants. As they surge forward, a giant spider starts tearing through the battlefield. Another monster appears too, a mutant centipede. Someone yells for everyone to be careful, and the mech immediately recognizes how dangerous it is. It fires attacks in every direction. Giant mutants are hard enough to fight even with strong skills, and finding this thing's weak point could take forever. So the boy says they need to kill it right now. He curses the disgusting farm group cause there's no way they'd ever let them live long enough to reach the 6th wave. Song Gang tells Lin Tang to move now. They have no choice left and need to use everything they've got. The boy fires an ice arrow, while Song Gang uses his spirit warhammer. Lin Lun watches and asks if they really thought they could save energy and still live. If so, they're even dumber than they look. Then the centipede rushes straight at the mech. It closes in near the spider, trying to trap him, and Song Gang realizes they got there too late. Lin Lun wonders if the mech is dead, but the mech bursts out by sprinting right over both monsters. Lin Lun notices at once that he had another hidden move. Lin Tang keeps firing arrows into the spider, while Song Gang joins him so they can bring it down. Meanwhile, Yi Nin keeps chasing after the centipede. He finally spots the centipede's weak point. He strikes with his telekinetic piercing attack, blasting a hole through it, then finishes with a punch right into the center, shattering it completely and destroying the monster. Lin Tang can barely believe it. Mr. just killed a high-level monster by himself, while their group only brought one down before by attacking together. Seeing that, Lin Lun figures out MC is a beginner psychic, awaken her with 2 blue-grade items, and to her, that makes him a perfect target. She tells her team not to worry, the next wave belongs to them. For now, they shouldn't kill him, just break his arms and legs so she can torture him slowly afterward. Song Gang realizes the next wave will leave only him and the protagonist standing, and Lin Lun's group will definitely make their move then. Lin Tang says even wounding her is enough, they can let the protagonist land the finishing blow. Then the 6th wave begins, bringing 3 peak second-order enemies, plus several other second-order mutants. Lin Lun calls it the last wave and tells everyone to go all out. She pairs through several enemies with her kicks and says that if they can hold on, she'll only take the loot and let them live. She claims the peak second-order berserker for herself and orders the others to deal with the rest, but the giant nearly lands a hit on her. She answers with another brutal kick and kills it, only for another one to rush her from behind. This time she activates her blood shield, and Mr. watches while fighting the scorpion. He figures out she has a double awakening, agility and strength, plus speed, damage and defense buffs. She's way above Hong Gang, and that's probably not even everything. MC can tell she's still hiding more tricks, so he knows he can't rush in carelessly. Lin Tang says they'll keep that bloodthirsty butcher busy, but once Lin Lun finishes the berserker, she'll come for them too, so they keep stalling while she keeps killing, and in the end she leaves that fight to them. Hong Gang is already in serious trouble, and when Lin Lun turns toward that thing, she orders them to keep the monster distracted because she's going to kill it herself. Hong Gang then tells Lin Tang to use the spiritual flame arrow, but when the arrow flies toward the monster, it also heads straight for Lin Lan. Mr. instantly knows this is bad, they move too soon, there's no way she'd fall for something that simple, she has to have a backup plan. The arrow hits and a huge explosion goes off. Lin Tang thinks Hong Gang got her, but in reality, he was the one who took the hit. Lin Lan mocks them, asking if they really thought she hadn't seen it coming. Mr. realizes she switched places with Hong Gang and wonders if it's some kind of damage transfer skill. Even while slicing off the scorpion's tail, he keeps thinking about it. Lin Lan says they at least forced her to use one of her trump cards, so she gives Lin Tang fake praise for the attempt. Then she rushes him, slams him in the stomach, throws him to the ground and starts stomping him. She says she'll begin with his right arm. She wants to see if he can still heal from that. She adds that he'll end up as a zombie golem, then orders the others to finish the rest and start gathering the loot. They agree, and one of them goes to Lin Tang, telling him to hand over his gear and credits if he wants to leave alive. If not, he'll be begging for death before she gets there. Another one threatens Hong Gang, saying his left hand will be next. Both of them still try to resist, but then Mr. puts on an act, begging them not to kill or torture him, and pretending he's completely broken. One of them says the kid is smart, but orders are orders. The boss wants him crippled. The protagonist tells him to wait, saying that if they're going to do this, he should at least transfer his credits first. In his head, he knows the next wave is his only shot, so he has to stall until then. The 6th wave ends, and all participants get the choice to leave or enter the 7th wave, the final battle. Mr. decides it's show time, kills the man in front of him in an instant by tearing off his head and finally reveals what he's really been hiding. He chooses to enter the 7th wave at maximum difficulty. Very few people know this, but picking max difficulty doesn't need a majority vote. The dungeon keeps going, no matter what, so his vote forces the next stage to begin, and the system tells everyone to prepare for wave 7. One of Lin Lan's lackeys panics, saying the boss promised they'd leave after looting the place. He can't believe what he's seeing and asks if they don't need 70% of the votes. Another says he heard the 7th wave has peak 3rd order mutants, and not even the boss can handle that. Song Gang says, "This is karma. They're all going to die here and they'll go down together." Lin Lan snaps, and demands to know if this was Song Gang's doing, swearing she'll kill him. But before she can act, a massive worm appears right in front of her, while Mr. quickly kills the other two nearby. He calls out to Song Gang and the others, asking if they can hear him. If they can still move, they need to run as far away as possible. Once they realize it's yelling, they think they might actually have a chance. Mr. says Lin Lan probably doesn't know this, but 3rd order mutants have spiritual intelligence. They're different, smart, cruel, and they love hunting strong awakeners, especially people like her. Once that thing grabs onto her, wiping out the rest of her team will be easy. Funny how the hunters became the hunted. MC tells them not to worry about revenge anymore. They can leave this one to him. Meanwhile, the monster keeps focusing on her, and when Lin Lan looks back, she tries to switch places with a corpse and run. He spots the trick right away. Just like he guessed, that transfer skill has a range limit, and from this far out, she can't use it. The monsters keep chasing her, and she manages to escape at first, but eventually gets hit. Mr. thinks this is his chance. He uses the Sword of the Storm, and wipes out all those monsters at once. Lin Lan is stunned, and asks what kind of power that is. It's way beyond a normal 3rd order mutant, and she can't believe there's another 3rd order awakener here besides her. Mr. cuts through everything, and she notices the attack range is too huge. She's trapped. Then the Death Factory is declared cleared, and the exit will open in 5 minutes. Lin Tang is shocked that the protagonist just killed a 3rd order mutant and an awakener in one strike. He starts thinking MC might be mid-3rd order, or maybe even advanced 3rd order. But he says there's still one life sign down there, and wonders if she's somehow still alive. He uses psychic detection and telekinesis, confirms she survived, and throws a dagger. Lin Lan realizes that dagger came from Mr. The protagonist now knows for sure she's alive and protected by some kind of defensive item, so he decides to finish it himself. He aims for her forehead, but the equipment saves her life. Mr. realizes he can't break through, so he thinks about turning the blade into a drill. Lin Lan thanks her luck for investing in that passive A-rank defense item. MC says it looks like his telekinesis can't slice through it, but in her current state she has no strength left to fight, so he may have to do this the hard way. She asks if that explosion really came from him, and wonders if he's a hidden 3rd order awakener. He can tell her barrier is incredibly dense with nothing getting through, so he keeps attacking until it starts to crack. She tells him to just kill her already, if that's what he wants, and asks why he has to humiliate her like this. That makes Mr. realize she's not thinking about survival. She thinks he's shaming her because he can't kill her cleanly, so she's more scared of humiliation than death, and that gives him an opening. He knows it's dirty, but if that's what works he'll use it. He asks if she wants a quick death, then says she should have thought about that before torturing other awakeners. She asks what he plans to do. Now completely helpless, she asks if this is revenge. The protagonist says she still hasn't seen real humiliation. Then she asks what she has to do if she wants him to kill her fast. He says it's simple. Give up exactly what they plan to steal from others, all her items and every last credit. She asks how she can trust him. Mr. says she doesn't have any choice but to trust him. Shaken, she begs him not to go further and says he'll get what he wants, but if he's lying, he'll regret it. So she hands everything over: a blue spirit flower, the blue cold fire gauntlet, the blue incapacitating flower, and 13,000 credits. MC notices she's loaded and thinks robbing people really is the fastest way to get rich. She says that's everything and tells him to kill her now. He asks if that's really all, pointing out that only 13,000 credits feels way too low. He warns her not to lie. She insists that's everything she has, but he keeps pressing harder, telling her not to blame him for what happens next. That finally makes her mad, and she snaps that he should just do whatever he's capable of. Mr. can tell she's probably telling the truth this time. Then she asks why he stopped. What, is he scared? A second later, she figures it out, he never killed her and never even tried to touch her directly because he can't. She says that explosion must be a one-time move, and since he's only a second-order awakener, he'll never break her defense, and just like that, the whole situation starts turning around. Meanwhile, she gets back on her feet and realizes the MC tricked her. She calls him stupid for making her think he was third order, and the MC knows she's figured it out, now he can't face her head on. She swears she'll remember the name Yellen, no matter where he runs she'll find him, tear him apart and make him beg for death. The mech lets her cling to the name Yellen all she wants. Once people learn it was really Yellen, they'll see who's actually hunting who. After all that, the mech gets a 93% completion rate, 73% base, plus a 20% bonus and extra credit for killing the sea worm boss. His Pheonic experience also goes up by 100 for defeating a high-level enemy. His rewards include the white rank Lamenting Mask, the white rank Sin of the Centipede, and the blue rank Desire of the Swimmer. He also gets Corrosive Acid Chitin Peel, a Sandworm Eye, Rotten Fur, and a Sandy Blue Heart. Looking at all of it, plus what he got from Limland, the myth realizes he's sitting on a small fortune. If he sells everything he can buy psychic fruits and raise all his stats to 25. Once he leaves he plans to find an inn in Zenzian. After that it's time to practice that dark B rank sword skill. The next day he heads to the lost battlefield everyone talks about. He's there to get better gear and get used to fighting zombie hordes, but on the way back to collect the rune someone stops him. The stranger asks for help saying his car flipped over. The mech immediately asks if it really just happened. One look at the car and the people waiting behind him and he realizes this is a setup. The gang tells him to stay quiet, hand over his credits, and nobody gets hurt. The mech says they're right, there's no need to talk. Then he starts choking them all. The bait guy bolts like a rat but the mech isn't letting him go. He throws a dagger after him. The blade slices into his calf. Then the mech notices something weird. There's no blood. This isn't a human and it's not a zombie or a mutant either. The boy panics and begs not to be killed. He says he knows where the loot is hidden and will tell him everything. Still pleading, he claims the others forced him to do it. The mech ignores that and asks one thing first. What the hell is he? The creature begs again and says he'll open his status window so the mech can see for himself. It shows he's a Class 0 NPC. His talents are all tied to greed, shady merchants, and corruption. The mech is shocked to find an NPC out here. He asks how an NPC escaped the dungeon and whether he grew his own consciousness. The boy says he doesn't know how he got out. He's just been here for as long as he can remember and he begs to be spared. The mech looks over his 3 skills and sees they're all built around trading. No awakened person can get abilities like these, so he quickly realizes this guy could handle money and make him a lot more of it. So he tells him to sign a contract. The boy looks at it and realizes it's a slave contract. Once it's signed, any betrayal means instant death. The mech makes it simple. Sign or die right now. So the creature signs. Just like that, Refugee becomes the mecha's slave. The mech tells him to follow him from now on and work as his colleague. Refugee stares at him, wondering what kind of colleague gets forced into a slave contract. He can only complain about his rotten luck with bandits. The mech cuts him off and orders him to collect the bandit stuff because all of it belongs to him now. Refugee changes his tune on the spot, thanking his master and calling him the most generous man in the world. The mech notices his loyalty rises way too easily. Then he tells Refugee to help sell everything, including the bloody shield and the iron spurs. After that, he needs to buy spiritual fruits and a large storage item. Refugee will stay in that space and manage the money. When the mech gets home, Refugee says he's the biggest spender he's ever seen. The guy is eating spiritual fruits like they're plain rice. The mech just tells him to go back to his calculations. Then he keeps eating the fruits, raising every stat. Soon, all of them reach 25 and he finally gets what he wanted. Now it's time to learn that dark attack skill. The upgrade works even better than expected, turning the sword art into the SS rank dimensional cut. It tears open space, makes him untouchable for 1 second as he enters it and ignores all defense. Even the mech feels this is overpowered. He decides to test it tomorrow in the Lost Battlefield dungeon. When he enters the B rank area, he appears with a few other people. 2 of them, Shenyang and his sister Shenyao, introduce themselves as advanced second order awakened. Shenyao says the system matched them with a high-level second order fighter. But looking at him, she wonders if he's too young and asks if he's lying about his strength. Shenyang tells his sister to stop messing around. The mech studies their clothes and figures they're probably from a military family, which means he needs to stay careful. Shenyang apologizes for his sister, saying she's been spoiled since she was little. The mech says they can call him Yi Lin. Then the battlefield announces a special event, with the warm-up round starting in 3 minutes. The mech finds that strange. He knows the apocalyptic special events paranormal, mimetic and the other strange ones, but this is his first time seeing one himself. Shenyang tells him not to worry. From what he knows, the Lost Battlefield is one of the safest special events. There are almost no restrictions, and as long as they break out of combat, they can leave any time. This event recreates a war from the early days of the apocalypse. Their enemies will just be hordes of normal zombies and mutants. Then the system gives its orders. Shenyang calls the mech over and asks him to help kill the mutants. He adds that Shenyao will stay behind. So the mech moves out. The boy asks if he's nervous, and the girl says he doesn't really have a choice. The mech jumps straight into the middle of the mutants and cuts down several at once. Shenyang can only stare. That kind of power is exactly what you'd expect from an advanced second-order fighter. He wipes them out fast, but he also reminds the mech that he and his sister aren't weak either. Then Shenyang tells Yi Lin that they'll hold out as long as they can. Once they can't fight anymore, he'll summon dead and living soldiers to battle for them. The mech is caught off guard by that. He heard rumors about this in his past life, but he never thought it was real. Shenyang quickly says it's a military secret so nobody else can know. Before the mech can respond, he warns him to watch out. A zombie is nearly on him. The mech kills it and saves Shenyang. Shenyang is stunned when he sees the telekinesis. The mech just one-shot an advanced first-order mutant. Soon the warm-up round ends, and the real war is set to begin in 3 minutes. Shenyang walks over, offers him a cigarette, an army specialty, and thanks him for the save. The mech accepts the thanks, and he can tell from the rare cigarette alone that Shenyang has serious backing. Shenyang admits it openly. His grandfather is the deputy commander of the Huabei War Zone, and his father leads Safe Zone 191. Both are third-order awakened. He has his own group in Faction 2, so when he notices the mech seems to be alone, he asks why he doesn't join them. The mech refuses right away, saying he's used to working alone. Shenyang is surprised, but he says it's not too late to change his mind. All he has to do is become his assistant. In return, he'll get proper rewards. 3,000 credits a month, plus another 1,000 personally from him. On top of that, he'd get a free blue rank item, and even his family could join the army. Shenyang is shocked, and asks if her brother's gone crazy. Being strong doesn't mean he's worth all that. The mech still says no. The war is about to begin, so he tells Shenyang to focus on the fight. In his mind, once he reaches third order, he'll be the one recruiting everyone else. Shenyang can't believe someone turned down terms that even second-in-command officers would argue over. When he mentions it to Shenyao, she shrugs it off, and says the guy is acting full of himself, even though he's only advanced second order, and their family has 2 peak awakened. Half an hour later, Shenyang admits he can't keep going. After summoning dead soldiers to fight, he says they need to retreat. The mech tells him to hold on a little longer, and pulls the monsters toward himself. He says everything's under control, and tells them they can hide on top of the wall for now. Then the mech uses celestial light on the horde, and slices every one of them in half. Watching that, the siblings wonder if he's already third order, because even a third order fighter shouldn't be able to kill that many mutants at once, especially with advanced second order mutants mixed in. Shenyang finally understands why the boy rejected his offer, and Shenyang realizes his power might even be beyond her grandfather's and father's. The mech tells Shenyang he can summon the soldiers now. Shenyang asks why he even needs to, since he's already this strong. But Shenyang says that if Yellen says to do it, then they'll do it, so he begins whatever ritual he needs to bring them out. He raises the dead soldiers, and orders them to get ready, hold the front line, and prepare the first artillery unit to fire. Shenyang says all they can do now is watch. The summoned soldiers will only stay for this wave, but the mech tells them to wait. He still hasn't gotten the legendary blue item from that second-order mutant. He guessed it would show up after summoning the soldiers, and his gut tells him it's buried under the wreckage. He searches until he finds it. The moment he does, a special mission pops up. Last wish. He has to find what caused the lost battlefield and solve it, and he'll get special rewards when it's done. That catches him off guard, and he wonders if this mission is tied to the notebook. He opens it and sees it's a diary from someone who helped defend the line during the first zombie outbreak 60 years ago. In the July 7th entry, the writer says the zombie horde already passed through Genjing, but battalions were sent to stop it. He also mentions a bunch of new recruits joined up. They're good soldiers, but he still can't understand their dialect, so he knows he has a lot to learn. In the July 20th entry, Aijin tells him the girl he likes is living in the safe zone behind the defense line. The writer jokes that Aijin is only 17 and already thinking about marriage, but Aijin says people in his hometown marry young. By July 24th, the interception had failed. The commander told him that if things got worse, he could leave early, since he was a civilian. On July 25th, the first zombie horde attacked. It happened sooner than he expected. Aijin died, and they couldn't even bring his body back. On July 26th, the commander asked the soldiers that morning if they had any last words. He died that same afternoon before hearing them. The writer admits he was scared to die, but this time he didn't want to run. If he left, he had nowhere to go anyway. In the July 27th entry, he says he thinks death is near. They can't retreat, and after asking several soldiers for their last words, he finds out they all say the same thing. Marins go home. The mayor keeps thinking about that final wish. Judgment, the reason, the truth. Everything starts connecting. Back with the siblings, Shinyao asks if Yilin might not really be third order. Maybe he's using some item or one-time skill. Shinyao says that's possible, but they can't prove it. If they guessed wrong and delayed someone who truly was third order, they could die here without anyone ever knowing. Shinyao points out that if Grandpa finds out, the whole Huabi warzone would never forgive them. Shinyao warns her to fix that attitude before it gets her in trouble. Either way, if Yilin really is third order, they need to bring him to their side, then their father and grandfather would praise them for sure. So Shinyao calls out to Yilin and says these soldiers won't last much longer. Once third-order mutants show up, the summons will vanish, so they need to leave before that happens or they'll become targets. But the mech asks if he knows how the lost battlefield ended and how all these soldiers died. Shenyang says his father wasn't even born back then. But from what his grandfather said, the battle was a total loss. No one came back alive. Because they held the line, the people in the rear managed to retreat. And his grandfather was one of the survivors from the safe zone. The mech finds that odd. If the battle was such a complete defeat, then how was the zombie horde stopped in the end? Shenyang says he doesn't know. There are only rumors that the horde vanished on its own. The mech just says he understands. Xinjing asks what's wrong and Xinjing wonders why he's so focused on stories this old. Then the mech asks if they know what Merins means. Xinjing asks as it's a secret code passed down in their army, but he doesn't know the meaning. Xinjing adds that they only know the dead soldiers appear to fight whenever that word is shouted. She says it's a military secret, and since her brother already told him that much, he should stop asking. Xinjing tells her to calm down. The mech asks how many times they've used it. Shenyang says a few hundred times. People mostly used it to get items, but each person can only use it once. If they say it again, nothing happens. Thinking about those hundreds of uses, the mech asks if the summoned soldiers ever helped kill the final wave of mutants. Shunyang says no, because only second-order awakeners could enter before. He's the first third order to ever come here. That makes the mech realize why the lost battlefield still exists. He jumps down and Shunyang asks what he's doing. The mech throws himself into the middle of the soldiers and starts fighting beside them. These are the souls of old heroes, so how could the army treat them like this? They were abandoned 60 years ago and fought to the death just to protect their homes. For all that time, they were nothing but numbers in history. No one remembered them, and there was no way a zombie horde just disappeared on its own. Their final will turn them into heroic spirits, making this battlefield a special event. They've been holding that zombie horde here ever since, because they knew that if the third-order mutants were killed, their secret word would stop working, and they would never be able to fight for their descendants again. To him, that's a lie. They're being used, and the word Morans, which carries all the hope of those old heroes, has been exploited by the army hundreds, maybe thousands of times. This time, even if he dies, he'll take them home. Shunyang thinks he's lost his mind. Is he really planning to face the final third-order mutant? Shunyang also finds this strange. If Yi Lin wanted to fight a third-order mutant, he didn't need to summon the soldiers, and he definitely didn't need to help them. He thinks Yi Lin should be saving his strength. Shunyang says the third-order mutant will appear soon, and even Yi Lin could die if he pushes this too far. She says they should retreat now, and Shunyang agrees it's the best moment to leave. But if they go now, they may never get another chance to speak with Yi Lin, so Shunyang tells her to wait a little longer. They only need 10 seconds to escape, and if Yi Lin really can't kill the third-order mutant, they'll still have time. Then the ground starts shaking, and when they look ahead, they see it. The third-order mutant has arrived, and it's gigantic. The two of them freeze in fear. That size is absurd. The mech knows he can only use dimensional cut now. He has no idea how well it'll work, and he can't rush it. He draws his sword and decides to use it only when he gets close enough. He measures the distance. 70, 59 meters. 40 meters. As he closes in, he thinks now's the moment. He uses dimensional cut and slices the monster in half. Then he notices everything has gone still, and realizes he's inside dimensional space, where time moves completely differently from everyone else's. Not only that, he can even see through objects. He can sense his own body anywhere inside that dimensional space, and it can pass through anything. Now he understands why the system said that inside dimensional space he can ignore all defense. In that moment, he's basically invincible. He utterly destroys the monster, killing it by himself. Shunyang can hardly believe it. A third-order mutant, a super mutant strong enough to wipe out an entire safe zone, was shredded by one man. He says he only blinked and missed the whole thing. Now he knows he was wrong. Yi Lin really is third order, and he's even stronger than Shunyang's father and grandfather. Shunyang has seen several third-order awakeners since he was little, but never anyone like this. He wonders if Yi Lin is already at the peak of third order, someone truly one in millions. Then the event ends, telling them to leave within 10 seconds. The lost battlefield is about to disappear forever, and the soldiers can finally rest. Shunyang is shocked that the battlefield is vanishing for good. He asks Elan what that means, but the Meg shouts, "Murans, Murans, Murans," to all of them. The soldiers answer, "Zumai," and begin to return. They thank the Meg. Shunyang asks why he used the summon word when they were already summoned, but the Meg says they can talk after they leave because this place is collapsing. Once he's out, the completion rate reaches 100%, and he gets an SS variation along with a pile of equipment. After this battle, he's finally reached the peak of second order. He should be happy, but instead he feels sad. Even after helping those souls rest, he still wonders what else he can do for those heroes. The system says he completed the event Last Wish. He can now continue the mission and return home in the name of those soldiers, or finish here and take the rewards now. He says he'll do it either way, mission or not. Just then, Shunyang walks over. Happy to see the mech is still there. He says they didn't come out of the dungeon in the same place, so he was worried they wouldn't find him. He says he already transferred all the rewards he got from that dungeon, and they should have arrived by now. The mech thanks him, and Shenyang says he and his sister want to invite him to lunch, asking if he's free. But the mech tells them to forget lunch for now, he has something he needs to do first and he asks if they can help. He says the honor is his and asks what help is needed. The mech asks him to find the hometowns of the soldiers who died in the lost battlefield. He wants to visit them himself. He contacts Vice Commander Shu and tells him to track down where those soldiers came from, then send the information over. Shu agrees and Shenyang gets to work. Soon, Shenyang finds it. The place is about 300 kilometers from Shen, so he offers to take the mech there by helicopter. Once they're in the air, his little sister asks if he's really just gonna let Lu Yi go. She also brings up the vanished dungeon and asks how they're supposed to explain that, especially since the army cared a lot about it and even summoning rites had to go through their grandfather. Then she asks if, after giving the mech all the rewards, Shenyang is also planning to help cover this up. He tells her yes, it is serious, just like she said, but he won't just help hide it, he'll take full responsibility himself, and it may not stop at the rewards. He figures he might need to send the mech 10,000 or even 100,000 credits too, but his sister pushes back. She knows the mech is strong, yet he showed zero interest in joining them, so she wonders if trying to win him over is even worth it. Shenyang says it is. They can't dodge responsibility for this mess anyway. As long as his political enemy is around, that man will try to dump the blame on them. So instead of waiting, they should step up and take responsibility for Yi Len themselves. He adds that the mech already asked them to investigate something, and that says a lot. He still doesn't have support from any military faction. Even if he doesn't talk much, Shenyang can tell he's the emotional type. If they want his support, they need to treat him sincerely. Smart move from Shenyang? People like that are rare. Meanwhile, the mech keeps wondering whether the seniors are still out there somewhere, or if they've finally gone home. At the Wang clan, the mech asks the clan lord if he remembers the warriors who left 60 years ago, the ones who went to fight for Yang City. The moment the lord sees the photo, he starts talking about Yang Mirai, and the mech says that's right. Then he tells him they all came home. Not long after, one of Shenyang's men comes over and says they investigated the matter. 5 elders still remember what happened 60 years ago, and they also brought supplies to help the villagers live better. He adds that he even brought the village chief to talk about the monument. The mech thanks him, but the man says there's no need for that. The young master told them to do everything they could to help. Then the mech speaks with the chief and personally transfers for 1,000 credits, asking if a monument can be built there for the heroes. The chief says that's far too much, but the mech tells him to use the rest for the village children. The chief thanks him and promises to carve every hero's name with care. The mech tells him he doesn't need to be so formal. Now he says his seniors can finally rest. With that, the last wish mission is complete. He gets 100 fame points, and the oath is finished too. His reward is a blue rank necklace that adds 1 to all attributes plus 33 more speed for health recovery and spiritual strength. Its skill, Unwavering Conviction, restores 15 mental points in 10 seconds. The system calls it a blessed necklace. The mech thanks all his seniors and says he'll keep using it until the day every war is over. As for fame, that's something you can't just buy. He figures it may become useful later, maybe even when he starts building his own army. That also makes Shenyang's faction look like a good choice. After leaving the dungeon, Shenyang never pressed him about its disappearance. He simply agreed to every request, which makes him seem dependable. The mech still doesn't like him much, but he thinks Shenyang honestly doesn't know the truth about the lost battlefield. After he gets back, he'll ask more about the dungeon and probably ask for more help too. Then when the mech calls Shenyang, the guy sounds thrilled. Later, while walking through the city center, the mech realizes someone is watching him. He's right in the middle of Genjing's safe zone. Other than Shenyang, nobody should know who he is. He wonders if it's that third-order commander from Genjing whose kill he stole, or maybe Shenyang changed his mind. But that doesn't make sense. Shenyang wants to recruit him, not kill him. And that commander doesn't even know the mech was the one who took his target. So maybe it's Linlan from the Wolf's Blood Squad. She could have tracked him down fast, and with his skills still on cooldown he can't risk testing that guess. Right now, the real problem is escaping. He considers using the thunder boots and making a run for it, but forces himself to stay calm. If they're following him without attacking, then they're still unsure. They don't know his skills are recharging. If he runs now, he'll only expose himself, and then they definitely strike. The best move is to act normal and find somewhere to hide. He spots a place that might work. At a time like this, anyone still drinking in a bar is probably rich, powerful, or both. So he heads inside, planning to bluff his way through. Inside, a girl is drinking surrounded by security. She complains to the bodyguards, wondering if it's just her imagination or if the bar is full of old creeps tonight. One of the guards says they should head home after this drink, but she refuses. Then she turns and notices the mech. He can tell she's young, with flashy dyed hair, heavy makeup, and a club girl style. He figures she's probably in some rebellious phase. She walks right over to him, and the mech notices something important. Her earrings and rings are all blue-gray equipment. He also realizes the 4 strong people behind her are likely bodyguards at high second order or peak second order. Nobody in the bar dares mess with her, so she clearly has serious backing. She asks if he's alone and whether he wants to drink with her. The mech knows a third-order killer may still be outside, so he tells her he'd love to, but now isn't the best time. She just shrugs and says that's fine. She has plenty of money. Then she orders the waiter to bring 2 cocktails, says she's not going home tonight, and tells him to charge it to her account. The mech feels a little bad, but he has to use this chance to get away. Without knowing his full strength and seeing 4 strong second-order guards with him, even a third-order enemy would think twice. The girl doesn't hold back at all. She flat out asks if he has the guts to go to a hotel with her tonight. The mech realizes she likes being the hunter, so for now, he'll act like to prey. The guards whisper to each other that the young miss is about to leave with some guy, and ask if they should stop her. The other guard calls him crazy and reminds him she already had a huge fight with Lord before. She leaves with the mech, and he notices the killer is still there. The pursuer stays close behind the guards. Since the person won't back off, the mech has no choice but to go to the hotel with her and see what happens. Once they enter the room with the girl, she passes out, and he learns her name is Yang Yuqin. No wonder she has that kind of status. She's the daughter of Yang Li-jun, commander of Safe Zone 317, and president of the Starshine Trading Company. One night in a hotel like this costs what a normal person earns in half a year. In his past life, when he was just a desperate refugee, he worked for Starshine's Coast Guard team clearing zombies, so technically her father was still his boss, but she immediately starts cursing that old man, calling him the worst. Then she tells the mech to hug her, and he thinks it's obvious she fought with her father and is only doing this to get back at him. To the mech, she's acting childish. He decides it's time to scare her a little and push her back into line, so he asks if she's serious and says he won't go easy on her by just tossing her onto the bed. The second he gets close to her, she loses her nerve and bolts, saying she'll take a shower first. The mech figures he was right. The silliest prey always tries to act like the hunter. After leaving the room, he thinks she's all bark and no bite and doubts she'll come out of that bathroom anytime soon. Then he remembers the third-order killer is still downstairs. That figure looks suspicious, but from the build, it doesn't seem to be a woman. Maybe it's someone working with Lin Nan, or someone else entirely. Thinking deeper, even after 2 lives, he still can't explain the missing time from before the awakening test. A total stranger killing him out of guilt never made sense. If someone was really trying to kill him back then, poison would have been the easiest way. So why go through all that trouble? As for Lin Lan, she was badly hurt last time and should still be recovering. Still, she might have ties to other hunting squads and could have hired another third-order fighter to kill him. No matter who it is, he needs to shake the tail and get that person away from here. So he contacts Fui and tells him to bring disguise gear as fast as possible, something extremely realistic that will make him impossible to recognize. As soon as the mech steps out of the room, people ask if it was over that fast. He casually says his young girlfriend is drunk and tells them to make sure she doesn't cause trouble. He heads down in the elevator, activates the disguise gear and completely changes his appearance. He realizes the third order enemy didn't follow him, so the disguise worked. Still, that only buys time. He needs to reach third order fast, or he won't survive the enemies he knows about and the ones he doesn't. Before leaving, he tells Yang and Qian to look after herself. He also leaves her a letter saying he doesn't like taking advantage of people, so she needs to stop putting herself in danger. He thanks her for the night, then leaves. 2 days later, the mech is thankful to Chen Yong for getting him 2 pieces of gear so quickly. They're the Flaming Flame longsword and the Yuqin short sword, both blue-grade weapons. He first tests the Flaming Flame enchantment and notes that it burns 270 spiritual energy per second, while the blade can heat up to 2000 degrees. Then he tries the Yu Qian enchantments, slashing over and finds it uses 240 spiritual energy per second. Its edge is so sharp, it's almost like a laser. His spiritual energy reserve is enough for smaller fights, and with these 2 swords plus the speed from the Thunderlight boots, the protection of the Blood Spirit armor shield, the leg blade from the debilitating armor, and the toughness from the Oath necklace, along with his 3 ultimate skills nearly recharged, he can pass as a third-order fighter and enter the high-level dungeon called Hellgate. Hellgate is an underground dungeon. Every floor is filled with zombies or mutants, and every 7 floors there's a special mutant acting as an elite. On the final floor, a third-order level mutant waits. The place is also packed with rewards. Besides mutant drops, it contains spiritual energy crystals, which makes it different from most dungeons. If he finds a large chunk, it could be worth more than any blue-grade item. The mech enters Hellgate, and as he moves deeper in, he sees 40 people already inside. He knows this trip will decide whether he can fully max out his second-order stats. Some people are trying to collect crystals, but another man stops them, saying they're wasting time. In Hellgate, spiritual crystals only drop from monsters, and even if someone spots one early, they can't just take it. The Mikin counts 40 awakened fighters there, and 21 of them belong to the army. Then a man named Wang Yangping tells everyone to be quiet. The military is in charge of Hellgate this time, and they should feel lucky because he is the colonel of the 7th Army Group, a third order awakened. He says there are 18 tunnels around them, all crawling with zombies. If they make it out alive, they'll be rewarded well. Each tunnel will be handled by a team of 3 to keep things efficient and increase profits. Bigger groups mean smaller shares. Once they reach the 7th floor, all tunnels connect, and everyone will fight the elite mutant together. He explains that they have 4 third-order fighters, and 10 military awakens at peak second order. People can pair up and follow one of them. At first, everyone likes the idea. Then Yangping adds the catch. Follow a third-order fighter and you give up 70% of your loot. Follow a peak second-order one, and it's 50%. In return, they'll do their best to keep you alive. He tells the third-order and peak second-order fighters to step forward, while everyone else steps back, then orders the others to choose. A lot of people hesitate, and then Yangping, a rookie third-order fighter, steps out and says the Demon Hunter Corporation only takes 50% even while leading advanced second-order teams. The mech didn't expect to see a third-order fighter among the regular awakened, especially one from the famous civilian group, the Demon Hunter Corporation. Right after that, Huankai also steps forward. He's a rookie third-order too, and he says he'll only take 50%, just like the advanced second-order leaders. The mech is shocked to see Huankai here. That aura feels familiar, and then he spots Yi Lin. Once Yi Lin recognizes him, the mech feels that same killing intent, and realizes this is the third-order fighter, who followed him a few days ago. Still, a farming group wouldn't come into a dangerous third-order dungeon like this, so he figures Huankai is probably alone. That makes this meeting a coincidence, but a bad one. Now it's too late to switch disguises. Luckily his ultimate skills are ready. If needed, he'll handle this the hard way, and wait for a chance to erase Huankai later. Huankai sneers that he may have lost him before, but now the mech walked right into his hands. Lin Lan warns that this boy has a very strong ability, so the mech decides he'll wait until Huankai uses his ultimate, before making his move. Then the mech questions Huankai's third-order claim and says he'll only take 40% from anyone who joins him. The others are unsure. He doesn't have the pressure or presence the other third orders give off. He seems too normal, and that makes him hard to trust, even if his price is lower. Huankai turns to Yi Lin and challenges him, clearly not buying it. The mech answers that pretending to be third order in a dungeon like this would be suicide. One of the awakened asks the colonel to judge Yi Lin's level, since he has the best perception there. The colonel says he can't be certain yet, but Yi Lin's blue equipment is already beyond what a normal second-order fighter should have. And besides, only an idiot would fake being third order in a place like this. With only a minute left before the dungeon begins, everyone has to choose who they'll follow. The mech starts wondering if no one will pick him. When Huankai cuts in, asking what kind of third-order joke this is, who would believe him at a time like this? According to Huankai, the only real options are following a second-order army awakened, or taking the two pieces of trash nobody else wants. That's when a girl introduces herself as Li Qi, a long-range conjurer, and asks to join him. A man named Zhongbin follows, saying he's a willpower class awakened. The mech accepts and tells them both to stay with him. With the team set, it's time to move in. The mech says they'll take Tunnel 18, and as they head inside he asks about their specialties. Li Qi explains that she's a conjurer with up to 3 skills, but they all came from first order, so she might be a little weak. Zhongbin says he's in the willpower class and carries a spiritual machine gun, so suppressing first-order mutants shouldn't be a problem. The mech quickly sees that both of them are pretty weak. They apologize, and Zhongbin admits they never would have come here if circumstances hadn't forced them. Still, they insist they're not useless. The mech tells them not to worry, since he accepted a protection cut, he'll make sure they both leave alive. Right then, he senses the monsters and warns them to get ready for first contact. He says there are 473 zombies ahead, including 2 first-order ones. They're stunned and ask how he knows the exact number. To them, that sounds like the kind of skill only a third-order fighter would have. The mech moves out and says the early floors are easy, so he's saving as much spiritual energy as possible for later. He plans to clear everything up to the 7th floor using only basic skills, no weapon enchantments and no ultimates. They watch his quick smooth movements and Zhongbin realizes he doesn't seem to be using spiritual energy at all. It's just raw fighting skill. The mech clears the 1st floor fast and they don't even get a chance to fight. The first-order mutant there is a worm and it drops 170 spiritual crystals. Lychee is shocked because they did almost nothing and still got 60 spiritual crystals in 600 credits. Zhongbin says they clearly picked the right place and the right leader. The mech points out that 1 spiritual crystal is worth 10 credits, so his share alone is already 4,800, and that's before commission. Sometime later, on the 7th floor, the army members complain that they've already been waiting 5 minutes, and ask where Yellen is. Huankai once again says the mech was a fake, while Yongping says that makes no sense, since even the second-order teams arrived a while ago. Huankai claims this kid is probably struggling just to handle first-order mutants without using his ultimate skills. He wants to see how the mech deals with a peak second-order mutant, because if he doesn't use his ultimates the monster will rip him apart, and if he does, Huankai plans to finish him off. Just then, the mech arrives and says they're here. Yangping says he finally made it. Since everyone's gathered, he explains that clearing the 7th floor requires beating at least 5 peak second-order mutants. To get the best rewards, each of the 7 third-order fighters will lure 1 mutant, while the remaining teams join forces against another. He reminds them that if things get out of control, they can call for help, they'll just have to split the loot. The mech doesn't like that idea, but says his group will manage. Lychee and Zhongbin quietly think back on the trip. Lychee says Yen Lin was insanely fast on the early floors, but on the 6th floor, when they fought those peak first-order crystal ants, he was clearly struggling. He's definitely fast, but his attacks don't seem that strong. Zhongbin says maybe he's really still holding back, and for now they should trust Yi Lin. That's when the 8 peak second-order mutants get triggered and rush in. The mech notices right away, he sees they're lined up almost perfectly. If he wipes them out before anyone else even attacks, nobody can blame him for being too efficient. Huang Kai figures his chance has finally come. The moment he spots his target, he moves in. The mech thinks it's a shame he can't deal with Huang Kai yet. With the military nearby, he has to be careful and wait. So for now, he decides to use the celestial light trap. Everyone is stunned. Yilin erased all of them in one strike. Even Ferrando or a mid-third order fighter couldn't one-shot one of those monsters. Huang Kai is furious. Lin Lin warned him. Yilin's finisher was strong, but not this strong. Even the two following the mech are shocked by what he can really do. The mech looks at the mess and figures it should be worth around 50 to 60,000 credits. Once the rewards are counted, the two are stunned to learn they made 900 credits without lifting a finger. That's more than they make in half a year. Yang Ping tells the mech he was clearly hiding his real strength, and admits that attack was impressive. The mech apologizes, saying he misjudged his skill's power and it just happened. Huang Kai complains that the mech destroyed everything and left nothing for the others. He says he doesn't care how strong Yilin is, there's still such a thing as fair play, especially in front of the army. The mech realizes Huang Kai is trying to stir up trouble on purpose, using the army to pressure him. Huang Kai meanwhile assumes that huge finisher is already spent, so now he wants to push him a little and see what happens. The mech tells everyone they can still lure out more monsters since this area doesn't have a force clear condition. There should still be more peak second order creatures around, so they can just act like that last wave never happened. He even promises not to interfere next time. But Huang Kai snaps back, asking how he dares to talk like that. Does he think he's above everyone else, or is he trying to show off in front of Colonel Yang Ping? Yang Ping shuts him down, saying infighting is the last thing they need on a group expedition. Having a strong ally is a good thing, and Yilin is right, they should just trigger another wave. Huang Kai says that unless everyone is compensated for the last wave, then Yilin should handle another second-order monster by himself. The extra clear reward should go to everyone else's compensation. He claims that would satisfy the group, then asks the mech if he minds taking another wave. Truth is, Huang Kai wants a closer look at the gap between Yilin's earlier showing and what he's doing now. The mech agrees without hesitation. In his head he knows that bastard Huang Kai failed to turn the team against him, so now he's trying to force his hand with another peak second-order monster. In the manga he'd need to save Swordstorm for the third-order enemy on the 14th floor, and keep Dimensional Cut for emergencies. The last wave arrives and the mech tells himself this is fine because this time he'll rely on his combat skill and his gear enchantments. Taking down one monster shouldn't be too hard, and maybe he can even bait Huang Kai into making a mistake. His target is a defense-type crocodile. To him that's actually good news, because his plan is to chip away at it and keep moving until it wears down. He opens with a full cut, but it goes badly. His raw strength is still too low, and the hit barely gets through the creature's defenses. It does almost no real damage. At the same time, Huang Kai starts smashing into his own monster, bragging that he knew it without that finishing move. Yilin is nothing. Once he kills his beast, the next one will be Yilin. The mech keeps circling the crocodile and uses the flamethrower enchantment, along with Yu Jio's enchantment, but he only manages to leave shallow wounds on the monster's paw. He realizes the crocodile's hide is ridiculously thick. Even with enchanted blue-grade gear, he can't break its leg in one hit. Then the monster rushes at the mech, slams him, and throws him away. Seeing he's in trouble, the other two get ready to help, but the instant they draw the crocodile's attention, it charges straight at them. Now they're the ones in danger, and the mech has to save them. He tells them to fall back because he can handle it alone. He thinks that even if he still can't kill it in one blow, the enchanted attacks are clearly doing much more damage than before, so he sticks with hit and run until the beast finally wears out. Around them, the third-order fighters finish their own monsters with ease, and soon only the mech is left fighting. By the time he notices, everyone else is already done. Zambin thinks Yilin is really strange. He crushed 8 monsters at once earlier, so why is he struggling this much against just one now? Yilin is confused too. Yilin's damage seems way too low. Without those enchanted blue items, he'd probably only be around peak second order at best, and that makes no sense. The mech realizes that now everyone's finished. Huang Kai is probably about to make his move, so he stays on guard. Right on cue, Huang Kai tells him not to push too hard because he's coming to help. The mech sees him closing in and instantly understands the plan. Huang Kai wants to kill him and steal the monster's final blow. For Huang Kai, it's worth trying because the crocodile is almost dead, but the mech won't let that happen. He activates all his enchantments at once, using the thunder boot and the lightning cloak, then raises both swords and leaps onto the monster with flaming flame and the blood-fueled gut-ripping burst. Huang Kai arrives too, swinging the golden jar hammer. The mech blocks with blood soul armor and knocks him away, then readies the leg blade from the weakening armor and kills the crocodile in one strike, ripping off its head. With Huang Kai sent flying, Yanpin remarks that Yilin clearly didn't need help at all. Huang Kai hates that. He thinks the mix is just abusing that damn gear from Lin Lan, and there's no way his spiritual energy should last this long. He figures the mech might flee this dungeon at any time, so he has to beat him before that. The mech meanwhile says it looks like Huang Kai won't be satisfied unless they fight today, so Yanpin tells Huang Kai to stop. Yilin already handled the monster, so don't get greedy, but Huang Kai tells Colonel Yanpin to stay out of it, claiming this is personal. The mixage says he has no idea what happened to make him act like this, but if it's personal, then they can settle it on the 14th floor. No need to waste everyone's time here. Huang Kai asks if the mech really doesn't plan to run away before then. He assumes Yilin already used his best moves, and going deeper while depending on enchanted gear is basically suicide. So is he stupid or does he still have something hidden? The mech tells Huang Kai not to worry. He's not leaving before the 14th floor. Huang Kai says fine, if Yilin survives that long, they'll settle it there. Yanpin tells everyone to pick a tunnel, and they move to the next floor. In tunnel number 9 on the 10th floor, Huang Kai is already having a rough time. He curses these clawed demons for ambushing them ever since the 8th floor, then orders his 2 men to stay close if they want to live. A clawed demon suddenly strikes at one of the boys and rips off his arm. Then that same claw lashes toward the other one, but Huang Kai steps in to intercept while trying to track down another clawed demon. He attacks but the claw pulls back and escapes. Then another strike comes from behind and nearly catches him, clipping Huang Kai's face. One of the boys saves him with spiritual projectiles and rapid shots. Huang Kai loses it, raging that the thing almost took his eye. Then he says things have changed. He's taking 90% of the rewards and if they don't like it, they can go alone. They complain. But Huang Kai reminds them they have no choice except relying on him. He shuts them up and asks if they want to live or want money. They'd better choose carefully. If they have no objections, they should follow him. But while running, he realizes too late that both of them were killed after he left them behind. Now he's alone. As for Yang Ping, he keeps his 2 teammates protected and they start thinking this floor is easy. Then one of them dies instantly and they spot a zombie stinger clinging to the ceiling, almost like it's mocking them. With the mech, it's different. He guides his 2 teammates with quick directions left, then right, telling them to stay close and not fall behind. Soon they hear someone crying for help. Leaky says the other tunnels sound like total chaos, while Zonbin points out that aside from being a little out of breath, this has been way easier than the first 7 floors. She wonders if maybe their tunnel just has fewer monsters. But the mech suddenly stops and tells them to be quiet. When they ask what's wrong, he asks if there's any way around what's ahead of them. He tells Leaky that at 97 degrees straight ahead there's a gowl stuck to the ceiling and they won't be able to avoid that one. Also in the second tunnel to the left, 16 meters ahead, there's a female hemophage hiding. And on the right, underground, a bone grower is heading straight for them. They're stunned that he can sense all of that through everything. It doesn't even seem like a real skill. The mech says he'll move first and kill the gowl. They need to follow 3 seconds later. He'll draw the bone grower away and cover for them. Then they'll regroup at the 3rd intersection on the right in 30 seconds. The mech sticks to the plan and turns back, telling them to move. No matter what they hear, they must not look back. At the meeting point on the 14th floor, Yangping sees 2 boys arrive and asks where their team leader is. They say everyone else died. Nobody expected weak monsters hiding in ambush to be worse than fighting stronger ones head on, and they had to burn through a bunch of skills just to escape with that agility-type fighter. Yangping says that's a problem. The higher-ups want a huge amount of spiritual crystals, and now it looks like they won't get enough. A little later, Yumi and Huang Kai come back. Yumi managed to save one person, while Huang Kai looks like he barely made it. Huang Kai curses the dungeon, asking where all those rootworms even came from. Yangping says they're only waiting on Yuring's group now. If he brings back a few people, they'll at least have enough to keep going, but his fighting skill is still hard to trust. That makes Huang Kai go off again. He bluntly says that Guy is a fraud, just some idiot acting like a third-ranked fighter because he has fancy gear. As for that mutant kill, Huang Kai calls it a one-time lucky finisher, and nothing else. He even bets his face that they died a long time ago, but the mech walks out of his tunnel completely fine, with the other two right behind him. So yeah, somebody's about to lose that ugly face. Everyone is stunned. The mech came back without a scratch, and seeing him alive leaves them speechless. Yangping points out that he's not just alive, he isn't hurt at all. They can't figure out how that's possible. Lee says Yuring helped them avoid most of the mutants, and Zhong asks why the others look so miserable if they managed to dodge so much. The group goes quiet in embarrassment, and the mech asks one thing: who was it that bet their face on his team getting wiped out? Huang Kai immediately argues it doesn't count. He claims the mech must have spent a lot of time in dungeons like this, and memorizing roads is basically cheating. Yangping shuts that down right away. Dungeon layouts are random every time, so that's impossible. He decides the mech must have some special ability for avoiding danger, and if the military can recruit him, he'd be a huge asset. Huang Kai finally realizes the mech wasn't cheating. His real strength is clearly nothing like what Huang Kai first thought, so now he'll have to watch him more carefully. The mech asks if Huang Kai is going to take back what he said, but Yangping cuts in and says they need to deal with the third mutant first, so they should focus on that. The mech agrees to follow the plan. Yangping explains there are 2 first-rank third-level mutants on this floor. The military will take one, and the rest will handle the other. Once both are dead, everyone leaves the dungeon. Huang Kai starts whining again. His team only has 3 supposed third-rank fighters. One of them might be fake, and the other 2 are just second-rank. Yangping reminds him that this so-called fake third-rank killed 8 second-ranked mutants in one strike. And even putting that aside, if they really can't beat the monster, the military can still help, they'll just charge a fee. The mech says he has no issue with that, if he needs help he'll call for it. His confidence surprises everyone, and they start wondering how strong he really is. Once they enter the area, the monsters rush in and begin surrounding them, and the fight starts. The mech notices another monster hanging back, just watching. Huang Kai asks Yuring if he's going to do anything, and the mech launches upward with his twin sword boost. The monsters keep attacking from every side. Yumi swings her spirit energy battle axe and smashes it into one creature's head, sending it flying. The mech keeps pressing in, then uses his lightning boots to jump back and make space. On the way he steps right on Huang Kai's head and tells him to move, using him like a springboard. In reality though, he drags the monster's attention toward Huang Kai, and Huang Kai gets hit. He blocks the first blow with his shield, but the second strike is much heavier and slams him to the ground. The mech asks if he's still alive, and Huang Kai snaps that the kid did that on purpose. While the others keep the monsters close, the mech says the 2 mutants are about 200 meters apart. If he can bring that down to 100, he can kill both at once. Yumi tells him to stop worrying about both and focus on the first one. She can't hold hers alone, so he says all the second-rank awakened should go help Yumi. Leave that side to them, he and Huang Kai will stall this mutant. The monster charges after them and the mech starts setting up his plan. Huang Kai complains that he sent all their support away, so now it's just the 2 of them. How are they supposed to handle this? The mech says he can kill it if Huang Kai holds on for 3 seconds. This time Huang Kai says he believes him. Once the mutant is dead though, he still wants a rematch. He's sure the mech is hiding more, and he plans to wait until all those skills are revealed. The mech tells him he did his part, so now it's Huang Kai's turn. Another 50 meters should be enough, and he tells him to block again. Huang Kai gets furious, while the monsters start closing in on Yangping's side. The Mickey warns the colonel to run. They're coming together. Yangping turns around and gets slammed away before he can react. Then the Mickey tells everyone to fall back because he's about to use his supreme skill. He orders them to run, while thinking it'd be better to let the two mutants bunch up first. Instead, he throws out a weak move to grab the monster's attention, and Yangping realizes this looks nothing like the attack the mech used earlier to wipe out those mutants. Huang Kai yells that this isn't any supreme skill. The mech says the two mutants are together now, with Huang Kai stuck in the middle. Perfect timing. Then he unleashes Sword Explosion Storm, firing his blade straight at them and wiping out both mutants along with Huang Kai. Everyone is left shocked by how terrifying that power is. Even if he stole both kills, nobody can complain. He could have wiped out the whole group with that same attack. Huang Kai meanwhile realizes the Mikas isn't just some basic third-rank fighter. He might be mid-tier third rank or even higher. Compared to that, first-class third ranks like them don't even measure up. Then the Mix shouts at Huang Kai, asking if he didn't tell him to dodge. So why was he still standing there? He jokes that Huang Kai died for him and can rest easy, since he'll take good care of all his gear. That's when the others realize he was just messing with them. Huang Kai is still alive. With that, the round ends, and they collect a pile of loot. Yangping says if they keep going, mid-tier third-rank mutants will start showing up, so the military is leaving the dungeon now. With the Mix skills he could keep going, but the Mix says he's tired and will leave too. In his head he knows he only has dimensional cut left, and he needs to save it for emergencies. Before they head out, Yangping says they need to discuss something first. The military wants to buy all their spiritual crystals. Market price is 10, but they'll pay 11 for each one. That makes everyone happy and they agree to sell. Yangping then goes to the mech since he has the most crystals. The military really needs them. So the mech asks why they need so many spiritual crystals in the first place. Yangping explains, they need a massive supply for the seed project, which helps low-rank awakened rank up. They've already bought out the market, and it's still nowhere near enough. The mech thinks it over, so spiritual crystals really can raise an awakened's power, but the cost is insane. A first-rank first-class fighter needs 10,000 crystals, just to reach mid-tier, and getting into high second rank takes at least 1,000,000 credits. Yangping calls to him again, but the mech is still thinking about how much the military is pouring into the seed project. He says he'll think about it first. He has 27,000 spiritual crystals, and asks if they can round the price to 300,000 credits for all of them. Yangping says he would have rounded it up even without being asked. Then he asks if the mech wants to clear more dungeons like this. The mech says no, running the same dungeon over and over with the same group lowers the reward so it isn't worth it. Yangping asks if he plans to take different people in and farm the dungeon that way. If he does, General Tang is going to notice. Then he admits the truth. They're gathering all these crystals for General Tang's second son. That kid just entered the third sequence, and Yangping believes he'll become a third rank awakened someday, maybe even break into the fourth rank. The mech tells him to shut up and disappear as soon as the deal is done. After he leaves, the mech thinks he'd been happy making money fast, but compared to the resources the military can throw around, what he's earning is basically trash, and people boosted by the seed project will end up with unstable power. On a real battlefield they won't perform well, so the military is wasting resources doing this. He used to think he had plenty of resources in his past life, but looking at it now, most of them had already been used up back then. Compared to what still exists in this era, what he once used was like dust next to a mountain. Right now, no one in the first through third sequences is burning through more resources than he is, and that's insane. He needs to max out every stat and take the third rank test as soon as he can. Once he passes, he'll enter the first sequence and finally have the power to change things. After getting home, he checks his stats. Everything is at 26 including willpower. The higher his stats go, the more spiritual fruits he'll need to raise them further. So he decides to eat every fruit he has first and see if it's enough. He keeps eating non-stop, and by the time he reaches the last one, all his stats are finally maxed out. Then he starts a gacha pull, already excited before the result even lands. He's hoping for a legendary set or at least an epic sword because that would boost his power like crazy. He really does hit a legendary reward, but it turns out to be the Ring of Chance. He's a little disappointed since it's just a ring and not a bigger piece of gear. Still, rings are rare too, so it's not a bad pull. Then he starts wondering if the Ring of Chance has something to do with willpower. It's an epic item with no direct stat bonuses. Its main trait is storage, and even without extra attributes, holding 1,000,000 cubic meters is absurd. He could carry hundreds of nuclear weapons in that ring if he wanted. Its special skill is willpower conversion. That lets him turn willpower into other stats for 3 seconds. The limit is 5 points at 2nd rank, 10 at 3rd rank, 20 at 4th rank, and 100 at 5th rank. The mech is stunned by how broken that ability is. Since he's already at 2nd rank high class, he can now shift willpower into any stat during battle. But then he notices something strange. 5th rank is listed above 3rd and 4th. That makes him wonder if 5th rank is the true human limit, or if mutants beyond 4th rank also exist. The item description says this is exclusive equipment from the World of Chance. Whoever uses it gets the privilege of entering that world for adventures. But there's also a warning. This privilege is SS class, so he needs to use it carefully. He has never heard of the World of Chance, not even in the future where humanity went extinct in his past life. He starts to wonder if that's a place where 5th rank mutants exist. At that point he realizes the ring may be tied to a huge mystery in the future, so there's no way he can sell it. He tells Fuji to sell the Warhammer, the Golden Shield, and all the upgrade items, then use the money to buy spiritual fruits. Fuji agrees, but the system reminds him that normal fruits can't raise stats past 30. If he wants to go higher, he'll need high-rank spiritual fruits, so he tells Fuji to buy those too after selling everything. He's already close to the 2nd rank cap of 31 points. The zombie horde in Qianfeng's safe zone will begin in 2 days, and his supreme skills should be ready by then. He wants to max out his stats first, shock everyone when the horde starts, and then take the 3rd rank test. He's sure that once that happens, no one will be able to turn him away. But Fuji comes back with bad news. There aren't any high-rank spiritual fruits left on the market. The mechs is shocked, and Fuji explains that all of them were bought by the military. That makes the mechs wonder if he should talk to Srongyang now. Before he can decide, Srongyang calls him right away. The guy asks if he still remembers him, and the mech is caught off guard. He had just been thinking about Srongyang, so now he's even wondering if this kid has telepathy. Srongyang explains that the Chenshan merchant group found an A-class supernatural dungeon forming. They want him to lead a team to clear it, so he thought of inviting the mech too. According to him, the risk is low, and the rewards are great.